What's up, San Diego?
This is San Diego sports. The wins, the losses, the moments that matter, and the opinions that come with them.
Padres have clinched the playoffs in back-to-back seasons for the first time since 05 and 06.
No hype, no filter. Just the truth about your teams, your city, and the people who care about it most.
The reality is the expectations are higher now for this club than they were in 2019 and 2020 when the Padres hadn't made the playoffs that many times.
He's been here. He knows this city. And now he's leading the conversation every single day. Live and local on 97.3 The Fan.
This is fun. We're doing this for fun. This is fun. Have fun. Enjoy the fun with us having fun.
Now, here's Braden Surprenant.
What's up, San Diego? Happy Monday to everybody out there in America's finest city. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show, live and local each and every day from 10 to 2 on San Diego's number one sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Good to be with all of you during this all-star break. Obviously, things will slow down a little bit on the Padres front here in the next couple of days. Padres will have one representative in the All-Star game in Mason Miller. Tonight will be the Home Run Derby on Netflix. We'll talk about that later on in the show. All-Star game is tomorrow. Everybody in baseball will be off Wednesday. And then Thursday will be the Phillies and the Mets because nobody wants to watch baseball more than Mets fans right now, especially against the Phillies. All eyes are going to be on Phillies-Mets on Thursday. How does it make you feel, Frank? You excited? Be the only game in town on Thursday?
Getting the bag ready now. So we're working on it, especially after this weekend against Boston.
Yeah, how'd that go? That didn't go very well.
Went very well, actually.
Yeah?
Depending upon what your goals for the rest of this season are, it went very, very well.
I did see a couple epic crash outs on Friday's game by Mets fans that were going, this team showed up 2 hours for the game and they still beat our ass. Yep,
and
they'll do that.
And not even showed up to the ballpark 2 hours before the game. They showed up to the state of New York 2 hours before the game started.
And still beat that ass.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, well, that happens sometimes. All right, this
Does
week...
it, though? Does it?
I thought for sure that'd be a solid win for the New York Mets. You know what? They're tired. They don't want to be there. Red Sox, keep it moving. So this week's going to be obviously a lot of different things. We'll talk about the Home Run Derby today and tomorrow. We'll talk about the All-Star game. We'll talk about, we'll do some All-Star week kind of recap of the first half, preview of the second half. We'll talk about, we'll do some fun All-Star break activities as well. But, the Padres go into the All-Star break at 500. 500 at the break. That's not necessarily good nor bad, I guess. I mean, that's kind of what this team is right now, and that is a kind of an average baseball team. Now, I heard on Ben and Woods, I totally agree with this as well. From a math standpoint, from what the Padres have to do in the second half about making the playoffs, the Padres right now have a very doable. What they have to do to make the playoffs is very doable. They're 3.5 games out of a wild card spot. They're 500 right now. There's 16 games for the All-Star break. And I think if I'm not mistaken, if I heard it correctly, out of the however many games the Padres have left, which I think might be close to like 66 games that they have left, I think Ben Higgins mentioned they need to go like 38-28 to kind of be around where they want to be. I think it might be good enough to make a playoff spot, which is that's not playing that incredible of baseball, Frank. 38-28, that's having a good stretch. So everything about this is very doable, which leads to, and we're going to discuss this throughout the day. We're going to talk about the current state of the Padres here in a second as well. But there are a lot of teams that have very, a lot of their tasks are very doable, if you will, in order to make the playoffs. I mean, if you just look at the standings at the ceremonial first half conclusion, at the ceremonial halfway point, you have a lot of teams in Major League Baseball that are close to a playoff spot. If you look at the American League right now, There are only 3 teams in the American League that are not within 3.5 games of a playoff spot. It's the Athletics, the Royals, and the Angels. The A's, 6.5 games back, which is not even that crazy either, but they're significantly under 500. They're probably not going to be competing. They just fired their pitching coach. They have 106, they have negative 106 of the run differential, and they have lost 9 straight games. I mean, they're probably not going to do anything. Everybody else is still in it. I mean, they're 3.5 games out of it or less. Detroit, 3.5 games back. They've won 7 of the last 10. Toronto, 2.5 games out of a wild card spot after losing their last 2 games. Baltimore, 2 games back. Houston is a game and a half back. The Boston Red Sox, who are in last place, left for dead. Those Boston Red Sox are now a half game out of a wild card spot. They're 9-1 in their last 10. In fact, they've won their last 9 games. They have a positive run differential of plus 27. Those Boston Red Sox, they're 2 games under 500, but you know what? They're a half game out of a playoff spot. You think that Boston Red Sox team, Frank, is going to sell now with 16 games to go before the deadline? Twins are tied with the Mariners for the final spot in the wild card standings. Cleveland and the New York Yankees have a significant lead in the top 2 spots of the wild card. Texas Rangers have now passed Seattle for the American League West Division lead. That's in the American League. In the National League, it's relatively the same. There are 4 teams that aren't at least 4 are not 4 games or less out of a wild card spot. It's the Reds who are 8 games out. They're done. The Giants who are 10.5 games back. They're done. The New York Mets. Do I need to say anything, Frank?
They exist. And the Colorado Rockies, who are a game and a half worse than the New York Mets, who are 12 games out. So right now, Frank, you look at it, there are 7 teams that are done probably going into the trade deadline. Would you agree with that? Yeah.
Out of the teams I said, Reds, Giants, Mets, Rockies, they're toast. Stick a fork in them. They're done. Royals, Angels, A's. That doesn't give you a lot of opportunities to make moves now, because everybody in baseball needs players. They all relatively need the same thing, which is pitching and an outfielder bat. And there's not a lot of teams that are out there willing to trade, willing to part ways with maybe something that they got right now. I think the deadline is going to be pretty small and pretty probably non exciting, if you will, because of the fact that there's so many teams that are still in it. Unless you start seeing a buy for a buy, like, Seattle has announced that they're willing to trade a starting pitcher for some back end of the bullpen help, because they have a lot of starting pitchers. They're willing to part ways with Luis Castillo. That could be something. Maybe the Padres trade like a Jeremiah Estrada for a Luis Castillo. I mean, those are certain moves that might happen at the deadline. But with such a quiet deadline coming up, and we're going to talk about the Padres in a second, but Frank off air was talking about this. He was thinking about it this weekend. I mean, considering the circumstances, Frank, I mean, right now, even if the Padres do want to buy or something at the deadline, I don't think there's going to be a lot to buy with. It might just be one piece, and you're going to have to roll with what you got. And I think that they're not the only team that's in that situation. I think that's most teams in baseball.
No, I agree with that. When we say buy, we're thinking of it as 5 different levels. There's go all in, buy, stay still, sell, fire sale. Those are your 5 levels. We're at buy right now, which means we're not getting rid of Salas, Mayfield, Schoolcraft. And we'll talk about Mayfield and Salas a little bit later, as they were at the Futures game yesterday. But we're kind of at that buy level right now, where they're going to have to, one, be creative if they want to bring guys in here. And also, you're not getting a big impact player. You're also not getting a big impact player for a long-term deal. If you want to get guys like we discussed last week, possibly bringing in a guy like Freddie Peralta, that's a half a year loan. That's a guy who you get just in case you make it to the playoffs. He's got playoff experience. He'll be your solid number 2, which is what we talked about last week. You don't really have that number 2 pitcher behind Michael King. He's that guy. You could bring in a guy like Mickey Moniak, who's not going to cost you a lot as far as trade capital or money. He's also a free agent at the end of this season. So it's buying on those margins that help you out, that give you a little bit better of a shot, but it's not going to be that win the back page move like we've seen over the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, I don't think it is either. I don't think. I mean, the Padres definitely are not like one player away. If this was the, I'm trying to think of like the year, like 2024, were they a player away? Maybe, right? 2022, another year that they went after it. But like at that point, if they had a team that was just like one player off, you could justify like going after just a big buy in the market. You could like throw everything at the Tigers to try to get Tarek Skubal. But right now, the Tigers are 3.5 games out of a wild card spot. The difference is with Tarek Skubal, though, is he is an impending free agent, whereas guys like Mason Miller on this team are not. It's going to be interesting to see. And Dennis Lin mentioned on the morning show, and it's true. Between now and the trade deadline, you play 16 games. And most teams in Major League Baseball play around 500. So unless the Padres go like 2-14 or go 14-2 or something drastic on either end of the spectrum, they're kind of not moving their tier, as Frank mentioned, of what you could potentially get at the trade deadline. I mean, every team kind of knows where they're at right now. I don't think there's going to be a lot of movement in the standings too much. I mean, maybe you see a couple of teams flip here and there just because of the fact that they're all kind of bottlenecked at one spot. But this is a tight race in the National League and a tight race in the American League. And the way the Padres have been playing, at least the offense is starting to get better. But right now, it's going to be adding on the margins, or, as I Need Money said in the YouTube chat, physically actually paying a lot of money to buy a contract from somebody, because that's what it's going to take to improve maybe the roster, or what you're willing to do, or what you are able to do in order to improve this roster. So we got a lot to talk about from the weekend. I'll talk about my time at Over the Line over the weekend, how we did out there as our 4 teams competed. We will also talk about what happened this weekend for the Padres. They took 2 out of 3, and we'll recap kind of the first half today of Padres baseball, who sit at 48-48 and 3.5 games out of a wild card spot. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. It's the Braden Surprenant Show, Static Urban Sports Station 97 through the Fan. 10:18 on a Monday. Padres take 2 out of 3 from the the Toronto Blue, the other bird team, the Toronto Blue Jays, the other American League bird team, not the Baltimore Orioles. I think they didn't. They took 2 out of 3 from Baltimore. They beat up on the bird teams unless they're in the National League. Then they don't. All right, let's get to some of the stuff that happened over the weekend with the Padres. Now, the Padres, we have started to see them play a lot better. But as we talked about earlier last week, as we've talked about on the show, they are slightly improving, but it's not going fast enough for them to make up the lost time that they had by having 2 awful months. They head in the All-Star break 48-48. They sit 3.5 games out of a final wild card spot with 4 teams ahead of them. Now, to me, I know the whole, you got to jump 3 or 4 or 5 teams, whatever it is. If you are consistently winning and you're focused on yourself, a lot of those teams are playing each other, and you should be thinking about the goal of getting a certain win total and not getting you in the playoffs. I mean, you can only control what you can control. And what you can't control is what the other teams do, who are going to beat each other up. Because if the Padres get 90 wins and they miss out on the playoffs, that's just kind of unfortunate. I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think more than 90 wins is going to be, I don't think that's going to be the norm for the entire wild card. I think 86 is probably a good sweet spot to be in. So at 48-48 and 3.5 games back, it's a very obtainable goal for the Padres. It's not crazy to say that the Padres need to, what is that? Like Ben said, 38 wins. They need 38 more wins to get to 86 victories. Which, if that's the case, that gets you to 86 and 76, right? So, in order for the Padres to probably make the playoffs, you and I said they needed to win probably 86 games, right, Frank?
Yeah.
They need to go 38-28 in their next 66. That's not like a crazy ask.
No,
that's having a hot stretch, right? If you want to do it based on just take it 2 out of 3 out of the next however many series they have to win 10 of them. Assuming you don't get swept and there are no sweeps, you got to be thinking about it from a series win perspective. You got to win 10 series. I mean, 66 games left to get 3.5 games in the standings is very doable. And the new offensive formula is something that has led to success for the Padres and something that they were doing a lot at the beginning of the season when they were winning games. And that was grinding out long at bats. That was taking walks. That was being aggressive on the base pass. That was executing sacrifice situations. That was producing productive outs, stealing bases. It's creating pressure instead of waiting for home runs. I mean, it's kind of everything that we said the Dodgers did against the Padres, is it not? This is what wins games. It's selfless at-bats. You're starting to see that with the Padres a little bit more. Maybe you needed some of these young guys to show up and lead by example with how they go about things in the box. It's good to see some of the stars hit like this. Now, the biggest question, of course, is consistency, because we've seen this team do exactly that throughout the season, but just not on an everyday basis. So there are encouraging signs, but despite the encouraging signs, the Padres have teased their fans about this before. I mean, Fernando Tatis Jr. in the article or in the daily newsletter with Kevin Acee said this after the game. Sometimes we show some signs that we can be consistent, but that's the problem. That's the problem it's been all year. The team flashes this elite baseball for stretches, and then they just immediately regress. can they actually sustain this identity over the final 66 games? That will be the deciding factor of whether or not this team makes the playoffs. That, and of course, the starting rotation. The starting rotation isn't great, but does it have to be? I mean, Armand Marquez lasted only 4 innings. That's usually a recipe for disaster, but the Padres won over the weekend with Armand Marquez only going 4 innings. 16 of the last 25 starters have failed to reach 5 innings, but most of those outings have kept games manageable. Surprisingly enough, the offense simply hasn't supported them enough over the course of the season. But recently, they won 8-7. Recently, they won 5-4. They're finally winning games where the pitching isn't dominant. And you're kind of have to tread water with that, at least for the next 16 games before you get to the trade deadline. But even after that, Frank, as we talked about what this trade deadline could be like, this Padres team is going to need that for the remainder of the season, because best case scenario, they get a starting pitcher. You're still going to need some of these kind of starts of manageable, keeping the games close out of the Padres pitching staff, because they're not going to be able to replace their starting rotation with 3 new pitchers.
No, they're not. And JP Sears, even his start went 4 1/3 innings. He didn't do too bad. Most of his runs came in after the home run that Johnny Brito gave up. And then Germán Marquez yesterday, 3 runs, 6 hits at 85 pitches through 4 innings. That obviously needs to come down, but gave you a chance to win. The only one that really didn't do that this week was Walker Buehler, who only pitched 2 innings. Kind of forced you to have a bullpen day, but even then he only gave up 4, and you won that game. So you're going to need to add at least 1 pitcher, I think, if you want to be a serious playoff contender. But you kind of got those hang with them starts, and you won 2. You won 2 of the 3 this weekend.
I think a lot of it's because the offense is getting better. And what have we said about this team for so long? Where who goes, the Padres go.
Where Manny goes, the Padre goes.
And what has Manny done in the last 14 games and the last 30 games?
He has hit very, very well.
I have the numbers in front of me. I mean, and I think this is the biggest reason for optimism, because going into the season, what was the plan? I'm not saying it's the best plan. I'm not saying that the Padres really had a choice, but the plan coming into 2026 was, we need the stars to star. We need the guys we invested in to play well. The offense is slowly improving, and now you're getting Manny Machado back to looking like Manny Machado, and that is a sign for optimism. Over his last 14 games, Manny's hitting .314 with a 1054 OPS. Does that sound like Manny?
Yes, it does.
I'd say so. Since June 9th, for anybody that's sitting there going like, well, 14 games, that's a small streak. In his last 30 games since June 9th, 279 average, 958 OPS. That sounds a lot like Manny, does it not?
Mm-hmm.
He's actually delivering in the clutch a little bit, too.
8 homers, 23 RBIs.
He has had game-tying hits. He had that 3-run homer at Dodger Stadium. He has had multiple RBI performances. He had a 3-hit game on Sunday. And historically, when Manny heats up, the Padres usually follow. Oddly enough, in these 30 games, the Padres are only 13-17 during the stretch of his hot stretch. But that just shows how poorly the rest of the roster has been performing, most notably the starting staff that has now shown that they are exhausted, them in the bullpen, because the offense has taken too long to start showing up. But I think this All-Star break is going to be huge for this team, because it's going to rest a lot of guys. And there's only one guy that's going to be in the All-Star game. 1, it's Mason Miller. And 2, it's not like he's been used a ton and needs a break this week. And on top of that, it's not like he is going to actually be used. There's no guarantee. The closers are never a guarantee to be used in the game. So if you're going to send one guy to the All-Star game, and it better be your closer, or it's going to feel a little bit better. And now everybody gets to just shut down, relax, take some days off their feet. And as Tatis said yesterday, he is going to rest, sleep, and be far from humanity. And you know what? I respect that.
Yep.
I respect that on 4 days off. So I like the way things are trending for the Padres. We'll talk about Fernando when we come back. We'll talk more about Manny's health, with some of the injuries that he has had, and we'll talk more about this kind of recap of the first half as we return to the Braden Surprenant Show, setting Summer Sports Station 97 through the Fan. Broadcasting live from the Bill House Studios, we know how. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show. Standing us over at Sports Station 97.3. The Fan. It was good to see you guys all out there at On Back Over the Line over the weekend. Had a great time out there. Had multiple people go like, "Where's Frank?" And I said, "Nah, man, he big leagued us. He's got too many good things to do. Popular guy, man. Found something more important to do than come hang out at Over the Line." He still got his shirts though. I got him his OTL shirts.
I did get the shirts back there.
Yeah.
Thank you for those.
It was a fun time at OTL. We had a tent set up. It was good. Again, second year in a row, didn't get to hang out at the camp because lost the first game, which means he's got to play the whole day, which honestly, for like my team, and like I had 4 teams out there. I have a team, my brother and has a team, and then we have a couple other teams of our friends. My team was the one that made it the furthest again. And we were the one that lost the first game. Everybody else won their first game. That just kind of happens like that. Some of our teams wanted to get to the second weekend. I'm not one of those teams. I would like to make it to the second weekend OTL once just to say I did it. I don't necessarily know I want to play in the second weekend. That means I'm like committed to playing OTL. And you have to be like, you have to practice and be really good to do that. You can't just like show up. We practice a couple of times, but the teams that are out there that are getting seeds, like a top 16 seed, the teams that are out there that are, winning into the second weekend, they practice. They go out to Mariners Point. They play in other tournaments. I mean, that's their deal. They love OTL. I like OTL for like a day on the weekend. I like to play it every once in a while. It's a fun activity. But my body was just killing me on Sunday morning. And I had to go play Scripps Ranch Old Pro softball on Sunday morning. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to. This is ridiculous. I couldn't move. I couldn't any ground ball in the outfield trying to run it down. I was like, I can't bend over to get this thing right now. My body is so tight. I hit pretty well. I think the OTL helps my hitting a little bit. But
I felt that way walking around the racetrack. Then the next morning, I could not move. And then I had to go and get something real quick. And I ran. I'm like, how am I running right now? How am I doing this?
The bottom of my feet are killing me into my Achilles. I'm trying to take it easy. I mean, I don't need any injury like that. I've been rolling out my feet here in between segments. It's just 7 games, dude. I mean, it was just, it's rough. And it's all about luck of the draw too. My team is historically the one I've played on has always drawn a competent, very good OTL team in game 1. And then, lose by 2 or 3 runs and then play a bunch of teams that have never played before and just kind of go on a roll. I mean, we got to a point, there was one team, it was our second to last game. We had already played 2 or 3 in a row, right? We're now we're humming, we're getting used to it. We played a team. We had to wait about 10 minutes before they showed up. It's late in the afternoon. It was 3:30 or 4 o'clock almost. And they show up, dude. And I was like, oh boy. Oh no. The guy goes, "Are you guys any good?" And I was like, oh man. And I was like, I don't know. Are you, we're in the losers bracket. We're okay. Are you good? And he was like, bleep no. He said the word. And then he goes, "I'm drunk." And I was like, oh my really? God. I was like, they might get hurt right now. And so they hit first. Wasn't great. Wasn't great. I was just glad the bat didn't fly out of one of the guys' hands. And then we went up to hit and we put up 11 runs.
Well,
and that was it.
Well, you don't know, man. They could have hit every single ball, just not the real one, the one that actually counts. But they could have been knocking that thing around.
So we won like 11-0. They didn't even move. They were like they couldn't like the super drunk guy was in the back. Okay, so like he was. I don't even know if he was paying attention. The other two guys like kind of knew it was like it's time to go home. Like not really want to be here anymore. Every ball we hit, they didn't even move. It just was dropped in. They're like, all right, cool, let's get out of here. But here's the problem, though. Like, so we played the game, and then they told us to stay on the same court. So I put the ball and the little clipboard that's got the scorebook thing underneath court 30. And I'm like, all right, well, let's put that there. And then our little tent was like right next to court 30, kind of like it was a little bit down the way. On the other, you could see the court clearly from our little tent. So I went over there, and the guys that we had just beat, the guys that were super drunk, their friends who were also drunk started to like teach some guy how to play on the court with the ball that was there.
Oh no, that
guy swung and missed probably 25 times in a row. So I'm like, all right, whatever.
Again, you don't know.
We're waiting for, he's hitting the ball in his mind. We're waiting for the other team to show up. It was a good team. They obviously want to be there. We were like, at that point, we were thinking about how long it took us to get off the island last year. And we're like, okay, if we win this game, we're going to have to play another one, and then we're screwed. If we lose this game, we get to go home. So it's kind of a win-win. If we win, all right, we win. We're one game away from the second weekend. If we lose, we're packing up camp, and we're getting the heck out of Dodge as quickly as possible. So we we're waiting for this team to show up, and now we're sitting there, and they're playing with the ball or whatever. Then some dude walks over from another court. Guy's wearing a cowboy hat, not like a Dallas Cowboy hat, but like helmet. He steals the pencil from our little clipboard for scoring, and I'm like, all right, dude, you could have you didn't have a pencil over there. Go ask for it. He steals a pencil from our deal, and then we finally get that other team that shows up, and we're ready to play, and the drunk team, their friends, are claiming that the ball that they were playing with was their ball that they brought, and they won't give us the ball to play the game. And I'm like, I know you didn't bring that. I sat there. I put the ball down. I watched you pick it up. I watched you start to hit with it. Then the guy started getting like confrontational. Like you could tell like he kind of wanted to fight somebody. And I was like, all right, I'm not fighting over the ball. So we had to call the on-back guy to bring over another ball, whatever, just a pain. And as we were doing this, cowboy hat guy that stole our pencil gets into a fight on court 29 with the other team. They start yelling at each other. The girlfriends are getting involved. They're like bumping chest. There's just like, you want to go, bro? You want to go? I'm like, what is happening right now? And I'm like, it's 4:00. Let's lose this game. Let's get out of here before this gets even more. Everybody was like watching. The best part is like when any type of fight breaks out on back, everybody else watching just starts talking smack about those guys. They're like, hey, is it going to upset you if I say what as a recovering fat guy, what people are yelling at those? Hey, you're fat. Stop trying to fight. Hey, you're a fatty. Like all this other stuff, like just little like S talk like that. So they're like, hold me back, bumping chest, rooster in it, getting called fat and stuff. Everybody's watching like, what are these guys doing? It was a ball. I didn't see where it landed, but the entire defense was like, it was clearly out by a foot, and the whole team hitting was like, it was in. It was like, that was out. That was in. You want to go? And it's like, you guys have to go to work on Monday, okay? You have to go to work on Monday. That is a rough way to get arrested for assault on Fiesta Island because of a game that's supposed to be for fun. I mean, it was crazy. I was just like, are you kidding me? But glad that wasn't the team I was involved with. It was cool to see a lot of our fans out there that listen to the show, a lot of our listeners. They saw our shirts walking around. It was super cool. One of the teams last year, Frank, remember we were giving out shirts to teams that wanted them? Mm-hmm. One of them won the commit league
last
year, and their dad came up, found us, showed us in the program their picture of winning the thing in the shirts, and he thought it was super cool. So I'm glad he did that. That was awesome. Got to meet a lot of great people. Near the end of the day, one guy was there to watch his daughter's husband play, but then heard our name on the big board, and we're like, I'm going to court 30. I'm going to go watch these guys play instead of what? Where are you going? You wouldn't know about it anyway.
Squirrel
came and watched us instead. So it was a fun time. I had a good time out there at OTL. No digits. Nobody broke a finger.
Nice,
which is great. Sam's got a little bit of a rib issue because he doesn't know how to dive out there. But other than that, it was good. I made a couple of good catches. There was a lot of balls I just didn't catch that were hip to knee. I don't know why. I don't know how I couldn't catch those, but that was a problem until I moved to the front. Anything like waist up was a lot easier to catch for me. Had some good hits. We only hit, I think, like one home run, but it's just getting more and more mellow over there. It's not as big as it used to be. Trying to get more people to sign up for it. It's a tough thing. It's something that a lot of young people don't want to really, they're so worried about like catching the ball and things like that. And I just feel like a lot of younger people, and I'm including my age group in it, they don't like trying things that they don't know they're going to be good at. I'm not like that. My brother, who's younger than, 6 years younger than me, and his friends like trying everything. But there's a lot of people that just don't want to try stuff that they don't know if they're going to be good at. And it's supposed to be a fun time. I hope that they can keep it going. It's tough for them to find teams.
Oh, we found him.
But anyway. Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, he listens every day. He was cool. I every time people do that and they're like, I don't want to bother you. It's like, it's fun. It's cool to talk about it. His son plays college baseball. They gave him a scholarship. I forget what school he said he was at, but he got a scholarship, and then he played well, and they gave him more money to pay for all his housing and stuff like that too, which is super cool. So we appreciate all of that. Appreciate the local people out there. That's the cool thing too. It's like you get to interact with a lot of San Diegans. I don't feel like I have to prove that I'm from here, but that's one of the events that I, play in. And I've played OTL since I was 12. My dad played for years, and it was cool to see my dad out there. Him and my brother they were down 11-0 after the top of the first against the team, and then they put up like 17 or 18 runs in the bottom half. They ended up skunking the first team that they played, which is cool. It's good to see him back out there. It was fun to see a lot of our teams play. So it was a good time. I enjoyed being out there. But Ben, was talking to Ben in between. He was like, "Oh, did you play in the media tournament?" I'm like, "No, I'm playing in the men's open, man. I'm playing actual. I'm gonna play in the open. I'm used to playing this." So I had a great time. We missed you out there, Frank, but big shout out to the guys at On Back. They put on a good event. This year I bought a little tent spot, to be at. That was super cool. Loved the location. It was awesome. What was left. They made it easy in and out. It was with it being a little bit more mellow, it's a lot easier to bring some friends and family down there to hang out. It's again, they still have the rules: no babies, no Bowsers, no bottles, no bad attitudes, and no bicycles. So don't bring your kids out there. But it's definitely a lot more mellow than it used to be. There was a lot of good names out there. There were a lot of they have the raunchy names that are crazy. You're like, I can't believe people came up with that. But then they have funny names, that are just they're so basic yet hilarious. There was a lot. The problem was though, how about this? This started the day. It was the craziest national anthem I have ever experienced in my life.
Okay.
Because when you get on the island, I don't remember how early you got out there last year. Did you get out? You didn't get out there before they started playing games. So when you get out to the island,
I got there probably 8:30, 9 o'clock.
And they are, everybody's warming up on courts and stuff like that, getting some extra BP in. People are showing up. They're playing just music on this old ass PA system. So they're playing music, right? And then they tell everybody, get off the courts, right? We're going to start this thing. We got to do the national anthem like they always do. And they don't turn the music off.
Oh, no.
So they don't turn the music off, and they get ready to play this guy to sing the national anthem. And you know what? The parts I did hear, he was great. But in the background of the national anthem was Toby Keith's "Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue." It was the most like crazy America national anthem. So you are hearing the gentleman sing the national anthem to start the OTL day, and he is getting drowned out by Toby Keith, courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue.
I mean, at least it wasn't some completely ridiculous song. Like, it was kind of on topic.
It was kind of on topic. We had no idea what the guy was saying. People were trying to like sing with him to like drown out. They couldn't figure out how to turn the music off. And then after that, they started announcing people on courts with like Tom Petty in the background. They're just getting drowned out. You have no idea who's on what court unless you went and checked. And so that kind of beginning part where you get to listen to them say everybody's team name and laugh your ass off, you kind of missed because you were hearing the music. So, I mean, it was a pretty wild deal. If I don't say so myself, on the courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue in the background of the national anthem was hilarious. And the entire time you're like trying to stay like stoic and stuff. You're like looking around. People are like, are they going to turn the music? Is this actually happening right now? Is this actually happening?
Do they not hear it?
Yeah.
Do they not hear what's going on?
Yeah. Well, we're getting signed up. People are trying to sign us up for the to do shows out there. And I'm like, one, that would involve me to work on the weekend, and two, I like playing. I guess we could just do the show, and then I could just take it. All right, I'm going to step aside. Frank's got the next, like, who knows how long this game takes as I go play on court.
I'm good
whatever.
with that.
I would do that only if I got put on court 20 every time. I got to play on court 20 once. That's like the first court you see. That's fun because there's a ton of people watching. It's kind of cool. My buddy Mike was like, sometimes you don't realize how many people are watching you. Like, it's like with an audience, with fans and stuff, which made it kind of fun. But we had a big group, had a great time. Always have a great time at Over the Line. And next year we got to get Frank out there playing. You got to get a team together. You got to find a team. Maybe they put you in the media division. I would love to see a media division. Go recruit some guys from other stations, like news stations. Get some of the news guys out there.
Could you imagine if I turned up to the media division with Scan and Grant? Could you imagine?
You guys would have to play glove, dude. There's no way they're going to go
I'm fine with that.
I think you got to start with the glove division, dude. I think you got to start with the glove division, get into it a little bit. Got to have somebody pitch. Yeah. You know what? You should have a team with some people in the YouTube chat that tune in every day.
I'm okay with that.
You and Juan Ruiz. You guys could be called Arsenal or something like that. Oh, are you out now? You're not going to play now?
No, I didn't say that.
833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. Let's get out to Ron in La Mesa to finish up the first hour. Ron, what's going on, man?
Boys, there's nothing more riveting than 30 and 40-somethings talking about how much aches and pains and, oh, my God, I've done this, and, oh, my God, I've done that. But, I understand. I turned 70 last week, and I still need people to pull me out of the trolley seat so I get off of my station at the right time after I've worked 7 games in a row. So I'm happy that you guys are doing that. But remember, us old people are back here throwing raspberries at you guys. Yeah, wait till you get our age, boys. Hey, a couple things on the Padres, guys. Getting a little frustrated with Stammen. After the All-Star break, if he could just do one thing for me, put a freaking steady lineup. I hate having to change my lineup card every day. And I never want to see Cronenworth play first base again. I don't want to see Toddy play second base again. We've got our injuries back. I just don't like the rotation. I can see a guy getting a spell here and there. I think Song has proved that he can do the job at all the positions. So just a little steadiness, Stammen, would be very nice. All right, boys, we'll see you at the park in a couple weeks.
Now, it sounds good. Now, this is the time for Ron and La Mesa to get locked in on his K-State Wildcats, okay? This is where you get that Phil Steele book and you start reading up on the Kansas State Wildcats.
There you go.
who apparently on NCAA are doing very well on NCAA 27. This happens every year with the lineup thing, Frank.
Mm-hmm.
When they have a consistent lineup, everybody goes, you have to mix it up. When they mix it up every day, it's like, you got to make it more consistent. I don't really care one way or the other. I don't mind him moving all around. And I think you got athletes on this team. I think you got to put the best 9 bats out there. And with Fernando being so versatile, I think you can do that a little bit more. I know he makes great plays in right field, but you know what else he does? He makes great plays at second base.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like you're throwing Nick Castellanos out there in right field anymore. You have athletic dudes that can play in the corner outfield spots. So I'm not that upset with that. With some of those. The ABS challenging is still getting worse. I don't know what we're thinking on a lot of these. I was screaming at my television. I had to be told to calm down a couple of times, but the ABS challenges need to be fixed. We'll talk more Padres base when we come back. 11 o'clock on a Monday following a over-the-line weekend at Fiesta Island. My lats hurt. My calves hurt. My quads hurt. Well, my quads don't really hurt. My Achilles, bottom of my feet, walking all day on the sand. If you want to call that place sand. That was rough.
Just for Ron and La Mesa. Hold on. I got to get... Where the heck is it?
Come on.
Oh, there we go.
Join us in the SDCCU fan hotline. It's not Big Bang Banking. It's better. We're going to talk Padres baseball here in a second about Fernando and where he has been, what the latest status was on Manny Machado, and some other updates that we have gotten from Kevin Acey in his daily newsletter that we're not going to get until Saturday. Again, no Padres baseball games until Friday when they start a 3-game series against Kansas City. There will only be one baseball game prior to Friday, and that will be the Phillies and the Mets on Thursday. Everything else will be on hold for the All-Star break. Tonight, it will be the Home Run Derby, which you can watch on Netflix, and tomorrow will be the Midsummer Classic. It will be the All-Star game between the American and National League. Mason Miller is the lone representative for the Padres in the All-Star game. Do want to get back to your phone calls, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Let's get out to Rick in Lakeside. Rick, what's going on, man?
Yeah, Braden, I really appreciate having the pitch challenge, but that umpire yesterday was horrible. Don't you agree?
The umpires all weekend I thought were bad, Rick. I mean, Saturday night I tweeted out about how bad the home plate guy was. And then yesterday was awful. Yesterday was awful. Jen Powell was getting yelled at by both teams yesterday at one point. She kicked out Steven Souza Jr. out of the game, and that was because he was complaining about Song challenging the pitch and not getting it granted because she said it didn't happen fast enough. Then granted it to a
strike, but
then granted to a Blue Jays player later on in the game where he took way longer to decide whether or not to do an ABS challenge. They were awful all weekend. Check swings were bad. I mean, there was a check swing I think Manny had that was terrible that was called from the home plate umpire on Saturday that was just awful. That was a bad crew. They were not good at their job this weekend. They just weren't. They had a bad weekend. It's a good thing the Padres overcame that with 2 wins, but they were very much not good. That doesn't take away from the fact that the Padres still challenge interesting pitches is what I'll say. I mean, I don't understand the thought process from a lot of these guys on this team when it comes to the ABS challenges. I really don't. I think it should be strictly situational. There is not really any reason in the first inning to challenge a pitch unless it's so egregious it has to be called out. There's especially no reason to ever challenge a pitch with nobody on base early in the contest. I mean, ever. The only time it would be like a 3-2 pitch and it's to start a rally or something like that. But there are really not a lot of situations early in the game that calls for that with nobody on base. If you have a couple of runners on base and less than 2 outs and it's a pitch that's going to impact whether it's a walk or a strikeout, like a full count pitch, I think that's time to use one. In fact, what was that, Saturday, where Manny decided not to use it? It ended up working out in the Padres' favor. And Craig Stam was talking about like, oh, it's great. Like, you know, he wanted to go up there and hit. He didn't want to challenge that pitch. I mean, that would be a perfect opportunity to challenge a pitch. It would have guaranteed a run. Now, they ended up getting more runs out of the Manny hitting the double, which is fine. Worked out. But sometimes the situation calls for the challenge more so than how close the pitch is. I mean, there are certain scenarios where the Padres should probably be challenging a pitch, and even if it's wrong, it would still be worth a challenge, Frank, in my opinion, based on what the situation calls for.
Yeah, and there was the Bogarts challenge yesterday was incredible to me. Like, it's a borderline pitch. Yeah, it was in the middle of the count, first inning. It's like, why? What are we doing at that point? Like, that was ridiculous. There were a couple of, I think Friday was probably the best umpired game, but with Song in his challenge, I could see why she made the call that she did, because the rule, as far as I remember, states that it has to be the first baseball move that you make. He put the bat down, then turned around and went to the head. So I could see her interpreting putting the bat down as the first baseball move. And again, as Jesse and Tony said on the radio broadcast, that it kind of helped out the Padres because that was a strike. And that was going to be a strike, and you would have had both of your challenges gone in the second inning, I think it was. So but the situational deal with the ABS challenges has been so bad with the Padres this season. It has been unreal how poorly they are at using that challenge.
Yeah. Xander Bogaerts was good at the beginning of the season. He has since not been very good. I mean, it's almost to the point where they just got to tell, yeah, you know what, Xander, it's time to probably stop. It's probably better off if you don't challenge pitches. But I think it was Friday in that failed comeback on Friday where it was like too little too late where they started to come back in the game. He had two pitches that were awful. And he challenged the first one. He was right. And then he didn't want to challenge the second one. I mean, ninth inning, challenge. Like, that's the time to use it. Not in like the fifth inning when there's nobody on base and there's two outs. I mean, those are the situations that are becoming so frustrating to watch with this team. Those are the fixable ones, though. It's almost like you have to, with this team, it's almost like you have to have on the signals at third base, like red light on challenging, green light. I mean, they already do it for certain situations for like swinging and not swinging. So I just, Rick and Lakeside is right. I thought the umpiring this weekend was not good. And I thought it was not good in the two games the Padres ended up winning. But the other thing too, when you talk about, we talk about some of the balls and strikes. I mean, what was going on in the Merrill stolen base attempt? How'd they miss that? I don't understand. This is why I don't mind. I think they're doing it next year.
That was Saturday night?
That was Saturday night.
I missed Saturday's game.
Are they doing this in the NFL? Do I remember correctly? Are you going to actually be able to hear what they're talking about? Or are they just doing that in college?
I think that's just college. I think it's the Big 12 and the ACC.
I know the Big 12. Yeah, it sounded like the Big 12 was there. We did a report on that probably a couple of months ago now. I'm all in favor of that. At least you get to hear what they're talking about and like how they got to that conclusion. If they would have said like, we can't really prove that his hand was touching there and the evidence we have, I at least buy it. But I don't know what they didn't see that everybody else there saw. I mean, did you see Jackson Merrill's reaction? He was like, "Are you kidding me?"
No,
he was like walking off the base like
I missed that.
Totally shocked. But it sounded like obviously I didn't go to the game. I was watching it at home. We had the game on mute, so we didn't hear that. But apparently everybody was saying it was the loudest booing that they have heard at Petco Park ever, with that call not getting overturned. Like hearing it for like innings over there at Petco Park. I mean, the still picture was so clear. It was, as Go Aztecs mentioned, it was so clear. I couldn't believe they missed that. Umpiring this weekend was terrible. It was not up to what it needs to be at a major league level. That part was embarrassing. Let's talk about Manny a little bit. Again, we mentioned he has been hitting a lot better as of late. The offense is starting to play a lot better as of late. Kevin Acee mentioned this in his newsletter. Interesting reevaluation or revelation. Machado is
English are hard.
Quietly been managing a toe injury, knee issues, and ankle problems. Padres have been starting to DH him a little bit more. His last 11 games, he has had 4 DH appearances. The organization believes keeping him off his feet more frequently could keep his bat hot during the second half. I know Craig Stammen was talking about this at the beginning part of the year, that he wanted to do this more. I don't mind this, especially with the way that he is hitting. And if he's dealing with a knee and an ankle and a toe, first of all, this week's going to be great for Manny to get off his feet and relax a little bit. But also, I don't mind him using the DH role a little bit more because I think Song's done a fair job at third base, playing third base. And I also think Song's done a pretty fair job of starting to contribute in the lineup a little bit more.
Yeah, he has been playing a little bit better than he certainly was. And I still think that probably could have sent him down, had him play every single day, and then brought him up again. But it has more or less worked out. And as far as Manny goes, as far as him not getting time off, it's kind of hard to tell a guy to rest. First of all, Manny doesn't want to take days off to begin with. But it becomes even harder when he's trying to figure his swing out and trying to work through a problem to say, all right, let's take a day off here. Let's kind of figure this out. Let's get you some standard rest that we're trying to do and not have conspiracies kind of run wild throughout the media. So I understand them kind of letting him play as normal through this down spell that he's had. But now that he's figured it out, he's starting to get more comfortable. He's batting up over 200. I think that they can kind of start going back to the original plan.
Well, the other thing too is with Jake Cronenworth being back and contributing too. I mean, he's done a fair job.
He's been fantastic.
He's been great. I mean, you got to give the devil his due sometimes. And a lot of people wanted to get rid of Jake Cronenworth and all this other stuff. And he's never going to be able to be good again. I mean, he comes back off the injured list. He has been way better than he was before. I mean, he has gotten multiple hits a couple of times now, and just in the past week, he was 2 for 4. Yesterday, he was 2 for 4 on Saturday. He had a pinch hit opportunity on Friday, didn't cash in, but he's slowly been contributing to this team. He's hit a couple of home runs. He has improved his numbers. Obviously, it's nothing to write home about, but with him playing a lot better and now being back in the lineup and being able to play a lot, you can now move Song to play defensively at third base. Cronenworth could play second, and that means Fernando could play right field. With Jake Cronenworth back and healthy again and actually contributing offensively, it's a lot easier to have Fernando play right field on a daily basis. And the defense obviously improves a lot with him being out there. And Sunday featured a lot of elite defensive play. I mean, his sliding catch of Vlad Guerrero Jr. was unbelievable.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
I mean, I know Tatis likes to play in the infield. Everybody agrees that the team is simply better defensively with him in right field. I'm curious to see now his if they're going to keep playing right field, the splits between him playing second base and right field at the plate. If he goes back into a slump, I'm just saying maybe they have to move him to second base for the betterment of the offense. And he looks like he needs a break a little bit. I mean, despite the recent success that the Padres have had offensively, Tatis looks a little fatigued after kind of carrying the offense for the last month or so. In July, 229 average, 302 on base, 313 slug. From May 24th to June 30th, he was hitting 345 with a 383 on base and a 525 slug. So he obviously needs a little bit of a break. And these 4 days are going to be great for him, especially with his quote that I mentioned earlier. He is going to rest, he is going to sleep, and he is going to, quote, be far from humanity. That sounds like something Frank would do on 4 days off.
4 days off?
Yeah.
Try later today. That is me. Nando, if you need any tips on what to do, I got you.
They obviously need a refreshed Tatis after the break. Chase Bowen, we haven't talked about him too much. He's currently hitting 119, but Some interesting reports about Jace Bowen being elite on the base pass because of the way he prepares. Kevin Acee mentioned it in his daily newsletter, but according to a lot of the players inside the clubhouse, including one of the coaches, the first base coach, and Dave Macias, Jace Bowen studies every pickoff move, every timing pattern, every pitcher's tendency before every single game as he gets prepared. And he had one of the easiest stolen bases you'll ever see yesterday as he got to third and was able to get knocked in on a sac fly.
Speaking of pickoffs, how much of Friday's game did you watch?
A decent amount of it.
What pickoff move is JP Sears trying to go for there?
I don't know.
Every single pickoff that he threw is kind of like a lazy little half throw over there.
Isn't that when your dugout yells "not his best"? Not his best.
I mean, there wasn't really a genuine pickoff move. It was kind of like those, like, I'm paying attention to you. I see you. I'm not going to try to get you out, but I'm trying. I notice you kind of throwovers.
To get back to Jace Bowen, I mean, is he the guy that is just the pinch runner off the bench, defensive replacement? I would like to see him hit above 200 to be that guy. I don't know if the Padres can afford to have just a base runner as a position. I think you're going to need that in the postseason. But you know what? I think the bigger takeaway out of this is Jace Bowen doesn't look like a guy that can hit major league pitching since he's come up. He doesn't look like he can do it. But he does play good defense, and I think he realizes that if he could be an elite base runner and be a guy that can change the game with his leg, he could stay on the team.
Mm-hmm.
You got to applaud the guy trying to find whatever way it's possible to stay in the big leagues, and it's coming down to base running preparation, and he's getting praise from Ty France, calling him incredibly prepared. He's getting praise from Dave Macias, who has praised his preparation. I mean, even if Bowen struggles offensively, being a defensive replacement, but also a guy that can swipe bags and be that kind of spark on the base pass for somebody that might need it, like Manny Machado on Sunday, that's a good asset to have. And he's trying to find an opportunity to stay on this team. And so even though I am not convinced he's going to be able to hit major league pitching on a consistent basis, he's finding ways to help the team, and you have to applaud that.
Well, 100%. And also he kind of has a spot on this team no matter what right now, because if you look at the Padres roster on the website, they only have 3 outfielders. And Jace Bowen is one of them. So I would have to assume that Rengifo would probably be the first one to go once Samad Taylor's ready and back. But right now, Jace Bowen, he'll be the second outfielder in line when Samad Taylor returns. But for Bowen to basically become Bryce Johnson, it's not bad. Bryce Johnson with some pop.
Yeah, Bryce Johnson with pop. If he runs into one, he might actually. I mean, he's got the power. He's shown it off in AAA, and I know they're playing in high altitude, everything like that. But he had a lot of no doubters in places that don't have the benefit of high altitude down there. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We're going to talk about Jake Cronenworth when we come back. We got an update on Lucas Giolito and how his progress is. Continuing our Padres conversations when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show. Standing as number in Sports Station 97 to the Fan. Broadcasting live for the Bill House Studios. We know how. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. It's the Braden Surprenant Show. Standing us over at Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. Talking Padres baseball. He's got a new identity on offense, but something that they were doing at the beginning of the year. Consistency is going to be the biggest thing moving forward for this team. And as we mentioned before, like, we're going to talk about this trade deadline probably a decent amount from here until August 3rd. And we're 16 games away, not days, games away from the trade deadline. As much as the Padres need like an arm and maybe a bat, regardless of whether or not you think they should buy or sell, there's not going to be, I think, a lot of movement at the deadline unless teams start falling apart. And I don't think that's going to be the case because everybody is so close in the standings that it's going to make things very interesting. I think your best way is to improve from within. And right now, the Padres are improving slowly from within, especially on the offensive side of things. I mean, we talked about Jake Cronenworth going to break, Frank. Since returning from the concussion injured list, .333 batting average over his last 12 games. I know it's a small sample size, but this really helps the Padres out. I mean, this is an added bat. I mean, they need him to produce. We talked about what Manny's stats have been over the last 15 games and then over the last 30 games in which he is back to being Manny Machado. This is some of the improvements you were looking to see going into the second half of the season, and it's a good thing you're starting to see that with the offense.
Yeah, especially Jake coming back, being as strong as he has been. He has been incredible since coming back. And there are a couple of things you can think of. You could think, well, Jake coming back, that's great. There's your second baseman. Your first baseman, if you want to trade Ty France, that's a thing you could do. You can also trade him, try to sell high on him. If you're trying to shed a little bit money, knowing that shed a little bit of money, knowing that you're going to try to bring some in at the trade deadline, that is also an option that you have. So what Jake has done here has given you options with playing by how good he is, and whether that's keeping him on the team or not. He has opened a lot of doors for this Padres club, and it's been nothing but success from him and nothing but good feelings, good vibes, good momentum ever since he has returned from the IL.
There's been a decent amount of the Padres players that have returned from the IL better than when they went on the IL, which means, maybe there were some, other injuries in there that they were working with. Or just it's amazing what time off does to the body and what it does to elite professional athletes. I mean, even a guy like German Marquez. I mean, Marquez was a guy that was struggling a little bit, but he has had like ups and downs throughout his time with the Padres. He did decent against the Dodgers in relief. He had the great out against Arizona. I mean, kept you in the game against Toronto yesterday. Did end up giving up 3 earned runs, but he's been very serviceable. And that leads to like a progress update from Lucas Giolito, which is very encouraging injury news. Again, like you need some of these guys to start stepping up a little bit. I know we talked about the rotation. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be elite. It just has to be competent and keep you in games. Lucas Giolito got his fastball back up to 94 miles an hour. He's expected a rehab assignment end of July. And he described feeling like somebody stuck in third gear all year. He hasn't even felt like he's been able to really unleash what he has ability-wise, which could help with a late season pitching reinforcement. Maybe that's the guy that comes back and helps you out more so than a Joe Musgrove or a Nick Pivetta. I don't necessarily know what's more likely, Frank. Lucas Giolito coming back and being way better than he was before he went on the injured list, or getting Joe Musgrove or Nick Pivetta back and have them pitch at a level where you feel like it's an addition to your rotation.
The one I'd rely on more is Lucas Giolito, because you've actually seen him pitch this year. Pivetta, saw him throw a bullpen on Friday. He looked okay. He was doing like kind of curl hop tossing and then like 70 to 80% on the mound. And Joe Musgrove, you haven't seen pitch in almost 2 years now. So the one that, if you want to rely on one of the three guys, Lucas Giolito would probably be the guy to rely on because you've actually seen him.
Yeah. I wonder if this guy still. I got a text. One of my guys I used to go to college. I went to college with for a brief time. Now he runs the radio station at KTCU. He's out. He's on vacation out here in SoCal.
Oh, nice.
Got to tune in. Yeah, I got to tune in. Shout out Jeff Craig. Shout out Jeff Craig and the family, the Craig family, out here enjoying California for the week. He went. You know what? He went to the Padre game yesterday. Brought home a victory for the Pods. Love to see that.
Want to know?
Yeah, they went all over LA. I think they were up in Carlsbad, and who knows what they're doing today on the fun adventure. But great to have him out here in Southern California. Great for him. And thanks for tuning in, Jeff.
For sure.
He's the one that told me to do radio my first day at TCU.
Wow.
He said, because I told him what I wanted to do. He's like, you just got to sign up to do everything. He's like, they have shifts over at KTCU right now with Russell. Go ask for a shift. So I did. I ended up getting to work at 11 o'clock at night. But you know what? I still got.
That's what it is.
Got to go out there and get some reps and get in the radio. And then look where I'm at now.
Exactly.
Being able to host a show here in San Diego, my hometown's really fun. Shout out Jeff Craig, driving around SoCal right now. Back to what we were talking about with the Lucas Giolito thing. I think, and not on top of the fact that you mentioned, Frank, that he can pitch. We've seen him pitch this year. Let's talk about that. We've seen him look good.
Yes.
Like his first outing against Seattle looked pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And that was him being like rusty and not getting spring training and signing late. I think that's a little bit more hopeful than relying on maybe a Joe Musgrove or relying on a Nick Pivetta for, one coming back and then two on top of that, them coming back and being at a level of this seems like a ad at the trade deadline. But
his next start too against Los Oklahomento was really good too. 5 innings, no runs, 4 hits, 86 pitches. Not bad for a second start either.
So interesting progress report from Lucas Giolito. Let's get to the, again, the team identity finally emerging, right? As we talked about. And this is the identity I think that they need to be. They need to embrace this identity of getting some speed, using pressure, smart base running, grinding out at bats, clutch situational hitting, elite defense, using the bullpen depth, because as the beginning of this article talked about with Jackson Merrill, he was quoted saying, if we continue to play like we've been playing, we're going to be hard to beat. And that's true if they play like this, but the consistency is key because we've seen them play like this and then see them go away from it almost like the next day. And it leads to just awful baseball that I think a lot of Padres fans are tired of watching.
Yeah, and it has been getting a little rough here lately, but now that you're starting to see some winning baseball, we said you really kind of have to be extraordinary in this final homestand. You have to go 6-1. You have to go 5-2. 4-3 isn't quite that, but it is a winning homestand. You do come in. You do go into the second half of the season 500. You can make it work from there. At least it wasn't a losing homestand.
Key numbers for the Padres as we head into the All-Star break. They're 48-48, 3.5 games back of a wild card spot. Manny in his last 14 games hitting .314 with a 1054 OPS. In his last 30 games hitting .279 with a 958 OPS. Tatis in July starting to cool off a little bit. He said he was going to relax and stay as far away from humanity as possible. Cronenworth, since the injured list, is hitting .333. We didn't get to this, but I think it's interesting. Gavin Sheets has not gotten a hit in 6 games, yet he does have a 13-game on-base streak going. Padres starters failing to reach 5 innings, 16 of the last 25 games, yet they still have put themselves and the team in a position to win. Team has won consecutive games, scoring 8 and 5 runs in their last 2. We'll see how they do in the second half of the season. When we come back, we are going to talk a little bit about Did the Padres do enough to really buy at the deadline? We're going to start that conversation. And later on, we're going to get to the sports thread. Got a lot of different things going on in the sports world we want to talk about today when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show. Setting us over at Sports Station 97 through the Fan. 11:41 on a Monday. Padres baseball off until Friday. They'll take on Are they the worst team, or are the Rockies the worst team in baseball now? Rockies are the worst team in baseball. Oh, no, I lied. They will be taking on the worst team in baseball, the Kansas City Royals. Are you surprised by that? At the a ceremonial first half, a Kansas City Royals team that signed some starting pitching, has tried to improve in the offseason, has this young core. Are you surprised they're the worst team in baseball?
Not entirely.
I'm a little surprised. I mean, you and I had them finishing a lot higher and kind of making that next step. But, I mean, they're terrible.
Yeah, they haven't had one of their big names, too. I forget who it is, honestly, because it's be honest, it's the Royals. Roster 40, man.
I don't think it really matters. I mean, they still have Caglione in the lineup, and they still have, Stephen Kolek and Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo. I haven't heard much of
anything out of Vinny Pasquantino this year, but they're missing Michael Garcia. They're missing Jonathan India, both of them.
Is Jonathan India a major loss?
For a team like this Royals team, yes, but in the overall scope of baseball, not really.
I mean, like, one reason...
Missing Kyle Isbell, too.
One in the YouTube chat said it. Having Ryan Bergert and Stephen Kolek seems to be really working out for them. I think you could say the same thing about a lot of the teams the Padres have traded with. I think they can get good players back and have it not help them. If you look at like Stephen Kolek and Ryan Bergert, like Ryan Bergert, first of all, has been out the whole year. He had Tommy John surgery.
They're also missing a good number of pitchers too, like Chris Bubik's on the 60-day IL, Carlos Estevez on the 60-day IL. So is Cole Reagans. He's on the 60-day. Like, they are missing a good number of key contributors.
But as I'm saying here with like the Royals, like Ryan Bergert's on the IL. And Stephen Kolek has been fine. He had the complete game shutout, but he has had a 4-point-something ERA for most of the year. He's not even one of their better. I mean, he's not better than Lugo nor Wacha. Waka's having a pretty good year, aside from the fact that he got tagged by the New York Mets. And by the way, the Royals are like, we're not trading Wacha. I mean, if the Royals don't trade Michael Wacha, like, what are they doing at this point? I mean, what is saving him going to do? He's like 36 years old. What is keeping him for next year going to do for the Royals? That to me doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't you trade
Unless
that
they're
guy?
Trying to jack the price up.
I think they're trying to do that for sure. They said the same thing about Lugo. You better give us a lot. I mean, you're only going to get what somebody is willing to pay. But the Royals, are they better right now with Bergert and Kolek than they were with Freddie Fermin? I don't necessarily know that's true. I don't know if they're worse.
They're showing the sorry here. Squirrel.
Yeah, what?
They're showing the All-Star Game starters on screen now. Dylan Cease starting for the American League, Christopher Sanchez starting for the National League. I saw this stat yesterday. Dylan Cease is the first Blue Jay to start an All-Star game since Roy Halladay. Christopher Sanchez, the first Philly to start an All-Star game since Roy Halladay.
And they're doing it in Philly?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. What a stat. That's insane. Are those those All-Star hats are kind of cool. Does it say everybody's city name underneath the logo?
So,
or does it say,
and it's got stars on it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Very subtle, too.
It is very subtle. It's a pretty good-looking hat. Anyway, like the Washington Nationals. Like Ben Woods brought this up this morning. It is fair. I mean, the Nationals got two really good players. All-Stars. They're both in the All-Star game in that Juan Soto deal. Has that worked out for them in terms of like their overall performance?
No.
I mean, they're still as good as they have been. They just got swept over the weekend by the Yankees. They had leads in almost every one of those games.
They're not last.
They're now a half game behind the Padres. But how many, let me ask you this, Frank, how many playoff wins does the Nationals have since that trade?
None.
How many playoff appearances does that Nationals team have since that trade?
Carries a 4.
Show your work.
None.
Right. I mean, like, there are some players that you're going to give up, but at the same time, as good as James Wood has been, is he better than Juan Soto?
No.
Is he going to be better than Juan Soto when their careers are over? I'm not necessarily sure that's the case. I think there's a chance. But the only way that trade will ever hurt you is if James Wood turns into Juan Soto or better in his career. And then it's like, oh, I guess we could have just waited a little bit. But at the time, that Padres team needed Juan Soto. You know what they didn't need? James Wood. James Wood wasn't helping the window. And if they didn't make that trade and you kept James Wood, you probably don't beat the Dodgers in 2022. You probably don't. And you know who you turn into? Probably Baltimore. You probably turn into Baltimore. So, like, yeah, they're good players. They'd be nice to be on the Padres. Right now, of course, it'd be nice. But are we going to do this for like the next 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7 years? I mean, even if they've found the replacements for those guys, like, oh, it'd be nice. We'd have this guy too. It's easy to handpick, Frank, everybody that used to be part of the organization to build yourself an all-star team of that organization. And guess who could do that? Everybody. Everybody can do that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't even know if James Wood and C.J. Abrams are going to be on that team in the next 3 years. They could get traded at the deadline. C.J. Abrams could be a Atlanta Brave. C.J. Abrams could still be a Padre, theoretically. They could trade for him.
Yep. Wouldn't
that be something? All right, what else is going on in sports? This is the week where you really don't have a lot of sports going on unless you got the World Cup.
Yep.
The All-Star break is usually the trivia question of what's the one day in the sports world where no major league plays? That's the day after the All-Star game. But let's get to today's sports thread.
You know that group chat? The one that's always blowing up with the biggest sports takes, debates, and breaking news?
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me?
Yeah, we've got that too. Welcome to the Sports Thread, where we break down the top 5 stories in sports, just like you would with your crew.
Oh, no! Disaster! What a bad idea!
No filters, no silence, just real talk.
All right, Frank, what we got going on in the sports world today?
We got a good amount, especially a sale.
Number 1.
Going on in the National Football League. Seattle Seahawks are set to have a new ownership group after a group led by 49ers minority owner, Vinod Hulsla? Agreed to purchase the franchise for a reported $9.6 billion, the highest price ever paid for an NFL team. As part of the deal, Hulsla will sell his stake in the 49ers before taking control of Seattle, with league owners expected to vote on the sale later this summer. The record-setting valuation highlights the soaring value of NFL franchises and marks the end of the Paul Allen family's stewardship of the Seahawks. Are NFL franchises becoming worth too much for individual owners? And could record-breaking sales eventually change the way teams are owned and operated?
Well, this is a very interesting deal because they were. So are they selling their shares in the Niners to buy the Seahawks?
They're forcing to sell the shares of the Niners in order to buy the Seahawks, yes.
Okay, you know what? Good for them. I thought that was very interesting. I mean, I will say this, like, I don't know how, as you asked the question, I don't know how many franchises in the NFL are going to be owned by, like, families anymore, or owned by, like, one guy. I mean, what they sell for $9 billion something dollars? I mean, how many people are out there that can just drop $9 billion on a football team, right? I mean, it might be groups now, or it's people with massive bleep you money that want to spend money and it's their toy. I mean, the NFL teams are going to be so expensive. $9 billion for the Seahawks. Now they did just win the Super Bowl, but
they did. They sold.
That's a lot.
They sold high. They sold high. Very high.
Number 2.
What do you do with that? Buy a sports team?
Sure.
Have you sell for
May
a
as
sports
well.
team?
FIFA President Gianni Infantino says the organization will discuss expanding the Men's World Cup to 64 teams after this year's tournament, arguing that more nations deserve the opportunity to compete on the world's biggest stage. While supporters believe expansion would grow the game globally, as if it needs it, critics worry it would water down the competition and create an even longer tournament after just expanding to 48 teams this year. Another major change could reshape the future of the World Cup once again. Has the World Cup reached the right size at 48, or would expanding it to 64 make the tournament better, or simply dilute its prestige?
I mean, I think with like expanding,
Infantino sees dollar signs. That's all he's thinking.
I know, but like, let's think about it from we don't look at things via dollar signs because we don't get paid anything for this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many countries compete in soccer?
Every one of them.
Are we sure about that?
Yes.
Like even like the no, they don't, because the Vatican City doesn't have a team.
FIFA sanctions 203 nations are sanctioned under FIFA.
It's almost all of them, right? Have how many countries have FIFA
Vatican
teams?
City doesn't have one, but I know San Marino does.
There are 211 teams.
211.
Okay, so 211 teams in FIFA, which is still short of like the NCAA tournament for college basketball. There's 360 something teams for college basketball, and there's how many teams make it? Like 68, or gonna be 76 now.
Yeah.
So they want to move to potentially 64?
Yes.
Okay, so that would be 30% of the world that participates in soccer would be making the World Cup. Is that too many teams? 30%.
Makes a tournament too long, I think, is what it is. It's a summer thing. So you not only... The World Cup is nestled where it is because of the European calendar. You have about a month or so before 2 to 3 weeks
How many make it now?
after
48?
the end of the season, and then you have a month off before the next season.
How many make it now? 48?
48 made it this year, but it's been 32, and I thought the 48 was only for this year. I was under the impression that the 48 was only a this year thing because America, everything's bigger in America.
Well, my thing with this is were there are many lousy games? There was like what,
no,
2 or
there
3?
were not that.
There was like what, like Curacao getting
same.
smoked? Like that was about it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think it's that bad of an idea because it's not like these games have been blowouts. Still, it's only 30% of the countries that are competing that make it. And maybe you make something a little bit different for qualify. But the reality is you have to play your way into this tournament anyway with like qualifying, which is its own sense of the tournament. So isn't every country already kind of in the World Cup?
Yeah.
As you play into it? Like,
yeah, they are.
Does it really matter how many teams are in the host country? They might as well expand it because right now every country is already in the World Cup. They just get eliminated way earlier and years earlier than the World Cup. Speaking of, we're getting our World Cup date when we come back. We'll discuss more about this as well.
sports the way it's supposed to be.
When one asset of your game is not performing at a high level, you need the other portions of your game to step up and overcome those things.
The takes hit different here.
You know, everybody's all worried about the Padres not hitting home runs. The Padres don't need to hit home runs to win games. The home runs are going to come. It's finding different ways to win.
This is the Braden Surprenant Show.
New lunchtime hour on the Fan. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show, sending us over on Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. 2 more hours here today before we lead you into Gwynn and Chris, and then, well, that's, the Scraby Show. We got no Padres baseball this week. Home Run Derby will happen at 5 o'clock today. It'll be on Netflix. We'll talk about the rules of that in just a little bit, and who is in it, and some more All-Star Game festivities as we move on this week. All-Star Game is tomorrow. That will conclude the All-Star Game fun stuff for the week in Philadelphia. Wednesday, everybody in baseball is off. Thursday, Mets will play the Phillies, and then the Padres are back in action with everybody else in Major League Baseball on Friday, as they will be in Kansas City. So, for the meantime, everybody else is going to be participating in a little R&R, a little rest and relaxation this week. It's going to be great for, I think, a lot of the Padres players to be able to rest and relax a little bit and get geared up for the second half action. We were talking about the World Cup, right? Oh, yeah, that's right. We do have the I apologize. We don't have the Scraby Show today. We have what we've been talking about the last couple of days. We've been talking about the special today that we'll have on the air after Gwynn and Chris. The Midsummer Classic from 6 to 8. Mm-hmm. So that will be on later on this afternoon. Anyway, back to what we're talking about. Let's get to this conversation about the World Cup potentially expanding. But before we do that, we do got to update you on where we're at with the World Cup. A lot of games over the weekend, and it's now time for our World Cup date that is now going to sponsor our World Cup report, brought to you by Harris SoCal. Catch the final on July 19th at the First Down Sports Bar, or join our massive ticketed event at the Event Center. Don't just watch history, be a part of it in Funner, California. It's time for our World Cup date.
So, big weekend. Friday only had one game, Spain and Belgium. Again, another incredible game. Mikel Merino scoring in the 88th minute to give Spain a 2-1 lead and give them a 5-1-0 record to advance to the semifinal. Saturday, though, 2 big games. England versus Norway. Going to extra time. Goals from Jude Bellingham in the 45th minute +2. And then the 93rd minute, 3 minutes into extra time, sealed the fate for Norway. They go down. England to the semifinal. Argentina versus Switzerland later on in the night as well. That game also goes into extra time. Alexis McAllister scoring in the 10th minute for Argentina. Then Switzerland getting it back in the 67th minute. They played with a red card as Embolo got sent off in the 72nd minute. Julian Alvarez scoring in the second half of extra time in the 112th minute, gave Argentina the lead. And then Lautaro Martinez just emphasized that lead with a goal in the 120th minute +1. Argentina beat Switzerland 3-1 to advance through. So tomorrow you get one of the semifinals. France, 6-0-0 France will take on 5-1-0 Spain. That will be at noon on Fox tomorrow. Then on Wednesday will be semifinal number 2. It'll be 5-1-0 England taking on 6-0-0 Argentina. That will also be at 12 p.m. noon on Fox. Saturday will be the third place game. The loser of each of those games will play on Saturday, and then the winner will play in the World Cup final at noon on Sunday afternoon in New York.
Getting down to the final couple of contests here in the World Cup. That blew by so fast.
It did. It really did.
It's been great action too, but let's get back.
A lot of action in Boston too, by the way. I sent you that last night.
Mm-hmm.
The very second that World Cup games were done in Boston, Robert Kraft, who made a killing on this World Cup, I'm sure, said, bleep off grass, and just immediately ripped up all the grass at Boston Stadium. Well, now it's Gillette Stadium. They're done playing, so now we can
call it Gillette again.
Yeah, we can call it Gillette Stadium again.
That poor intern has got to go take those stickers off every single seat now.
Oh, boy.
Hey Frank, we got you a job with the Patriots. Oh, really? Yeah, we're gonna need you to rip the sign off every single seat. I declined the job.
It's my dream job, because only in my dream would I take that.
And then it would turn into a nightmare. Okay. All right, let's talk about the conversation we had in the sports thread that's now led into this. And I think it's World Cup date approved. Because it talks about the World Cup. Now, how many teams have usually made the World Cup?
It's usually been 32.
So they've usually had the top 32 teams in the world make the World Cup.
Well, not necessarily the top 32
relatively.
Yes.
And there's different qualifiers, different area. They want to be inclusive to everybody around the globe.
Mm-hmm.
So they look for 32 teams. They expanded it this year to 48 and then had 32 in the knockout stages.
Yes.
And obviously they're trying to get more eyeballs in the World Cup. I think when you are more inclusive with it, it spreads the game out a little bit more around the world. You have more people watching because they have a vested interest with their country potentially participating in it. And the caveat is you don't want to just have everybody make it, because then it dilutes the product on the field and it takes away from what makes that special. I think this is a very interesting topic of discussion, because I think there's a lot of leagues that battle this of how many extra games can we get in there that are playoff games that people watch, that we get good ratings for, that we get paid well for, without taking away what makes these games so popular to begin with. And I think the 48 was a tester for the World Cup to figure out if you're still going to get great games. They have gotten great games throughout the entire tournament, throughout the entire bracket.
And I think Cape Verde is going to be like the big case study here, is going to be the biggest proponent as to why, because Cape Verde came in. I don't remember what their FIFA ranking was.
They have moved up 3 spots. It's 64th right now. I don't know what their trend has been like, but they've obviously jumped up a lot, right?
Yeah, they have been. Cape Verde, it's showing they were 117th, I think, in the world is what I'm seeing here. They were 117. So the fact that they are going to be the biggest case study here as to Cape Verde did it. Why can't we? That sort of thing. So I can see, first of all, the fact that if you're talking about expanding the World Cup to boost popularity for the sport, that's a stupid argument. It is the most popular sport in the world already. You don't need to boost popularity for it.
No, eyeballs. If they're just going to be people that don't watch.
And that's what I'm saying. You're going to boost now. What you are going to do is you're going to boost eyeballs on the World Cup, especially if your nation makes it for the first time. That is what you're going to be doing. So I personally, I don't mind it. I really don't. I think it's going to have to be a different way, like maybe kind of do what UEFA's doing with the Champions League now, where instead of kind of like a normal group stage, maybe you have, you kind of do a draw with the Champions League now. So the Champions League used to be done the same way as the World Cup. It used to be the 4 groups and then the teams that made one out of those groups, the top 2 teams out of those groups. Now what they do is they just pool everybody together. They schedule 6 games for the pool. Everyone plays 6 games, and then they take the top 16 teams out of that pool, and that's how they divvy it down. So maybe you could do that with the World Cup, to where instead of a 4-game pool play, you have 8, maybe 6 or 8 games, and then take the first 32 out of that and then do knockout rounds for that, to kind of keep the tournament somewhat concise. But there are ways that are going to be figured out. I don't think it's going to be all that tough a sell to make the World Cup a 64.
I think you're
tournament.
overcomplicating it. I think literally 16 pools.
Yeah,
of
you
4
could do,
teams.
Yeah, you could do that
I just
too.
think they're going to do that, and I know what I think it does. I think it. We'll see what happens, because the United States have already put in a bid to host again in 2038, and their biggest selling point is we already have the infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to build anything. We can literally play in all these spots. It opens up the door for more host sites. I think it opens up the door for more areas. I mean, obviously, it opens the door for more regional World Cups, where you're not just in one country. You're in like all these other countries to try to get more games in. I think that also helps out. Where you got maybe a continent hosting. But to go back, like Cape Verde this year, the historical ranking in the last year, they were as low as 71st on October 17th, 2025. They were as low as 73rd on July, a year ago today. They were 73rd in the world. Now they're up to 67 in the world with that deal, now up to 64th. After the World Cup performance. But you start going through these countries that are ranked in the top 64. There's a lot that are not in the World Cup that would be making the World Cup, right? Sure. Like, was Denmark in it this year?
No.
They didn't qualify. They're 21st in the world right now in rankings. Italy's 15th in the world. They didn't qualify, right? I mean, there are countries that have not qualified that are well within the top 64 that probably make the bracket a little bit better. Nigeria was 26th in the world rankings. They didn't make the
Ukraine
tournament.
Didn't make it.
Right.
Russia didn't make it. Poland didn't make it. Wales
didn't make
out.
it. Did Hungary?
No, Hungary missed. Serbia missed.
Cameroon. I mean, these are all Venezuela, Greece, Slovakia, Chile, Peru. I mean, these are all Costa Rica. These are all countries well within 64, the top 64, that could probably make it into this new format and this new bracket. And I think it works out. I think it works out easily. Like, Ireland didn't make it. They're 55th in the world. They could probably make it now in this particular format. And I don't think there's going to be a lot of people against it. I think a lot of where you can make the comparisons. I'm not always expand the playoff. I'm not always never expand playoff. I think it's a case-by-case basis on, can we still get more teams in and not take away from the product on the field? And that's where I think you make your decision. And I think this leads to another topic with the World Cup that we want to get into here in just a little bit. Maybe we start this conversation and then finish it on the other side. But you look at college football, as Augie in the YouTube chat says, 46 days until college football.
Oh, he also said Italy is a baseball country now. So,
hey, some of the best to ever play this game have been Italians. Have they not?
They have.
I'm just saying. But it leads the question of, did the World Cup kind of set the stage for what college football can do in terms of expansion? And again, to stick with the World Cup, I don't think 30% of the field making the World Cup is a bad thing.
No.
I mean, at this point, when you talk about playoffs and when you talk about qualifying to win a championship, I think if you keep that number under 40% of the teams, like 40% and under, make this bracket to win a championship, I still think that keeps everything respectable. I think still it keeps everything. I think it keeps the integrity of playoffs, right? So the fact that expanding to 64 teams for the World Cup would make 30% of participating nations make the tournament, you still have to be relatively good to make the tournament. It's not like they're just handing out bids to teams that have no business being in the tournament. And when you start talking about college basketball getting to 76, they're starting to creep into other ranges of, I mean, how many of these teams need to be making the tournament? That's where I think the biggest difference is. And that's why I've always been a component for college football, expanding to a certain level, because, I mean, you see it in professional leagues right now, like the NBA, like the NHL. I think the NHL playoffs are great. Like the NFL, you got like 50% of the field or more is making the postseason, and that's where it becomes way too much. Right, Frank? That's where it becomes like, do you really need half of the AFC or more than half of the AFC making the postseason? No, you don't. Do you need 16 out of 30 teams in the NBA making the postseason and watching the 8 seeds get just absolutely dismantled the first round? It's not always the case, but to me, those are instances where expanding the playoffs doesn't make sense and it takes away from the regular season. The other thing with the World Cup too, it's like it's so long to qualify for this thing that it makes it's not like it takes away. It doesn't take away from like the World Cup qualifiers. Those are highly intense games all the time.
Yeah, it's just now you're looking at different places, and the qualifying takes time because they only play 2 at a time. They play one one a week for 2 weeks. So that's why it takes forever. They could knock out the qualifying immediately if they wanted to. But I don't think it's a way of diluting. I don't think it would dilute the World Cup at all.
I don't think so either.
Because you're getting fresh blood in there to be able to take on these big names and teams that, as you rightfully pointed out, are teams that could definitely win it, that have made it over the last couple of years, that have missed out over the last couple of years. So I don't necessarily think the quality of match is going to diminish. I'm wondering how you're going to fit it in that 1 month time slot that you've been given. That's why I kind of suggested the Champions League kind of grouping, because it kind of knocks a whole round out. So instead of going from 64 to 48 to 34 to 32, you just go straight from the 64 to 32. That's really the only thing, is just timing it out and spacing it out. I think would probably be the only big thing that these countries that FIFA would have to worry about.
Yeah, they're adding a handful of more games. I just think they could probably play. They just would add. You're adding 4 new groups, right?
Yeah.
So you could literally add another group a day. You would just have more games in a day, and still space it out as much as you can. I mean, it's a couple extra host sites, and then, or maybe there's these host sites are playing more games there than they normally would.
Yeah, like you could have Brazil, Uruguay, and Argentina host all in 1 year. You could do like a France, Portugal, and Spain could host. I mean, there are other. I mean, I don't think that would be too much of an issue, like to find host nations to do this.
I don't think the logistics are going to be that difficult.
No.
But I was talking about more like host cities in the country, right? Yeah. Like instead of Kansas City hosting a game and then being off for like a week, they're hosting a couple of times a week. I know they got to worry about the field and everything like that, but they're the only ones that are using it. And so from that perspective, I think they could figure it out. I would be in favor for it. But did the World Cup set the stage for college football to expand? We'll talk about that next and what it means on the Braden Surprenant Show. San Antonio Sports Station 97 through the Fan. 1224, broadcasting live from the Bell House Studios. We know how. No guests today, but they all join us on the SDCCU fan hotline. It's not Big Bank Banking. It's better. All right. We were talking about the World Cup in our last update for you, or World Cup date, if you will. And in that conversation, it talked about expanding the World Cup to 64 teams. And we saw this article last week, and we didn't really have time to talk about it last week, but it seems a little bit more suitable for the All-Star break. Obviously, no Padres games this entire week. That will be back in action on Friday. It will be the Home Run Derby tonight, and it will be the All-Star game tomorrow. They're doing their media availability right now for the All-Star game. They're taking their team photos right now. It'll be a workout day here before they get ready for the All-Star break, or for the Home Run Derby tonight. But let's talk about from one potential expansion to another when it comes to playoffs. And the article by The Athletic, in which they discussed the World Cup maybe setting the stage for college football to expand, by Chris Vanini. It's a very interesting read. I'm always in favor of the college football playoff expanding. I'm not necessarily sure that it's the World Cup that's giving them the data that they need. I think it's a little bit of apples and oranges, but the success of expanding the 48-team FIFA World Cup should encourage college football to expand the college football playoff from 12 teams to 24 teams. But I also have to go with the situation of the percentage of teams that make the postseason for it to make sense. And right now, I mean, you're close to like 130 teams, I think, that are in college football, or in the FBS, 138 teams. If you expanded to 24 teams, that would be 17% of college football making the playoff. That's a pretty elite level already, Frank. And that's if they expand. So, again, I am all in favor of them expanding. The biggest thing is, it's going to be blowouts, all this, all that. The World Cup has kind of shown that, maybe there aren't always going to be blowouts when you expand postseason play.
The World Cup also, one thing that they don't highlight that college football does have that the World Cup doesn't is such a great disparity of talent. Now, there's a great disparity from the top 5 and 100 to 105 as far as nations in the world. There is a huge talent disparity in soccer, in FIFA, that way. As far as college football goes, there is a huge talent disparity from the top 5 to 20 to 25. So that big talent gap is there, that exists in where FIFA doesn't really exist to the same extent. I don't think that should be a deterrence, though. I think that you need to give everyone, I'm very much with you, that you need to give everyone an equal shot at making it, which is why every single conference should be getting an automatic bid into a 2014 playoff. You know where the at-larges are going to go. The at-larges are always going to go to the bigger conferences. But I do see the side of the talent disparity from soccer to football being a little bit different. But even with that, you saw Tulane and James Madison really give their opponents a shot in the mouth in the first round of the playoff last year. There's no reason to think that could not happen again, or something similar happen again.
The situation with the college football playoff, too, is we're not saying expand to 24 just to expand to 24 teams. We're saying you have to expand to 24 and have each conference represented with 10, and then you have the 14 at large. I have come up with many different ways that you could do it. I mean, you could even do it where the SEC and the Big Ten are guaranteed to get 4 of their teams in every single year. You could do automatic qualifiers with all of them and have 2 at large at the end. If you go 4 teams with the Big Ten, 4 teams You go 4 teams with the Big Ten, 4 teams with the SEC, 3 for the ACC, 3 for the Big 12. That gives you the 14 teams. And then left over out of the 10 conferences, you have 6 other conference champions that need to make the tournament. That's 20 teams. And then you have 4 other at large that could be from anywhere. Even that makes a lot of sense. I mean, if there is as elite as they have been and they claim to be, the SEC and the Big Ten, then if those 4 teams just get split amongst the Big Ten and the SEC, I mean, there could be years where the SEC gets 6 teams into that field, and yet everybody is still represented. And I think that changes the aspect of college football, because I think a lot of kids go to places that can compete on a big stage and have a chance to win a championship. You can't say that about every school. There's a lot of pipe dreams out there, and the Big Ten and the SEC know that. That's why they keep all the other conferences out of their little invitational that they do. But we've seen it time and time again of really good teams that have been able to overcome being in a group of whatever conference or not being a power school and be able to knock off power schools. But expanding and or not expanding does not prevent blowouts. They happen in sports. They happen during the regular season. They happen between 2 power conference teams. I think creating more access creates more attention, and you have more people involved. Look, we talked about the World Cup potentially doing that. It is the most popular sport in the world, so it already doesn't need that much more attention. But when you got cities around the United States that all of a sudden are still alive, I point to what we can relate to here locally with San Diego State. How many people are more engaged with San Diego State football if every year they have a chance to make the college football playoff? And on top of that, how much more are they engaged with San Diego State football if they're actually in a playoff game? I mean, you could say everything you want about what Brian Dutcher has done after Steve Fisher with Aztecs basketball. The big reason why people love Aztecs basketball, not only are they good, they have a chance to win a national championship every year. There's a path. Everybody knows what the path is. And San Diego State in basketball has shown that they can make it all the way to the final game on that path. You cannot show me right now a guaranteed path for San Diego State to make it to the national championship, because there's a lot of, well, if they go undefeated and this happens, they could theoretically make the college football playoff. That needs to get eliminated. And I honestly think every single time people go like, well, you know, they're never going to be able to compete. If you start to balance the power and you start getting schools like Tulane showing up every single year in the college football playoff, guess what they get? Playoff checks. You know what those playoff checks do? Give money to the program. You know what that does? Help them get better players. Players are choosing between an SEC school and Tulane. They might choose Tulane because they know they're going to make it to the college football playoff. They have a lot easier of a path. You want to see schools go back to the conferences they were in and go back to regional conferences? I don't know. Give them a path to the college football playoff. Guess what schools are going to start doing? You're going to be like, why am I traveling all the way to the other side of the country to get my ass handed to me when I can go back to this Pac-12, whatever they call it, and I could dominate that and just be in my backyard, and guess what? And I get to go to the college football playoff.
I think I saw the number yesterday. I think Washington is set to be $60 million in the red for fiscal year 2027.
And the only reason why they moved to the Big Ten is for 2 things. 1, additional revenue, which obviously is not working for them. And number 2, they have a better chance of being in the college football playoff, because this is all around football. They have a better chance of making the college football playoff as a middle of the road Big Ten school than it is to just win the Pac-12. That's how dumb this got. And that's where this starts to balance itself out. I think schools would be like, all right, we got to get out of this conference. We have a chance to make the college football playoff if we go back to where we were. I think a lot of things that are right with the college football world start to heal if 2 things. 1, you expand the college football playoff to 24 teams. And 2, Frank, you make sure that all 24 bids go to the SEC and the Big Ten.
100%.
And I think
100%.
the World Cup kind of paved the path of like, hey, look, Cape Verde can hang with Spain and almost eliminate Argentina. You could see that in some of these situations. And what you can't do is you can't just let 1 year of 12 teams go like, this is what's always going to happen, because as we say in baseball, not big enough sample size. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We are going to continue the baseball conversation when we come back. We have a futures game to report on from yesterday. We also need a contestant for the Midday Sports Standoff. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. If you call in and take me down in some sports trivia, we'll tell you if you can qualify for a prize on the other side. Braden Surprenant Show, standing us over on Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. $12:42 on a Monday, broadcasting live at the Bill House Studios. We know how. All of our guests join us on the SDCCU fan hotline. It's not Big Bank Banking. It's better. Let's talk a little bit about this midday sports standoff. We need a contestant. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. If you take me down in sports trivia, I think it's baseball trivia today, you'd be qualified for a chance to win our grand prize, a 2-night stay at Fontainebleau, Las Vegas, and a $150 food and beverage credit. Oasis Pool Deck at Fontainebleau, Las Vegas is officially open for the season, offering a 6-acre elevated pool experience with 6 distinct pools and a live beach. Enter to win a 2-night stay at Fontainebleau, Las Vegas, and a $150 food and beverage credit. To book your stay, visit FontainebleauLasVegas.com now. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. Okay, let's talk about what happened yesterday in the Futures game. Did you get to watch the Futures game at all?
No.
Wasn't your week to watch?
Nope.
Padres had a couple of members in the Futures game. And, you know, it was we're going to get to the draft a little bit later. We're going to hear from AJ Preller later on in the next hour as well. He met with the media over the weekend. Looking at the Futures game, you got to see a couple of things. One, Ethan Salas obviously made a strong return to the Futures game. It's not his first Futures game that he has participated in. He reached base in both of his plate appearances. Reminded everybody, obviously, why he's still viewed as one of baseball's elite catching prospects. Cash Mayfield pitched in the game. Unfortunately, he did give up a run in his inning of work, but he continues to have an excellent first full professional season. Remains one of the Padres' fastest rising pitching prospects. And you know, Cash Mayfield went 1 inning, 1 hit, 1 run, allowed a walk. He was charged with the loss as the American League won the Futures game 6-1. But so far this season in High A Fort Wayne, 3-1 to the 3.33 ERA. Guy's got 58 strikeouts over 48 and 2/3 innings, a 1.11 walks and plus hits per innings pitched. And opponents are hitting just 208 against Cash Mayfield, who's the Padres' number 4 prospect, according to MLB Pipeline. One rough outing obviously shouldn't overshadow what's been an astounding and outstanding first full professional season for Cash Mayfield. The organization continues to view him as one of its best young pitching prospects. Ethan Salas was 1 for 1 in yesterday's Futures game with a single and a walk. He reached base in both plate appearances, as I mentioned. He missed most of 2025 due to injury, but his healthy return is arguably more important than the stat line that he had in the Futures game. His second Futures game appearance after playing in 2024, he's still only 20 years old. Obviously a very extremely young AA player. And in AA this year in San Antonio, Ethan Salas hitting 284, the 353 on base, a 422 slug. He's got 7 home runs this year with 36 RBIs in 63 games. He is ranked the 33rd overall prospect in MLB Pipeline's top 100 prospects, and he's still considered one of baseball's premier catching prospects, despite the lost development time that he had last year. So future game-wise, again, it's just trying to showcase. You get to see some of the best prospects in Major League Baseball. Padres had 2 out there. They did fine. And win or lose, it doesn't negate a lot of things.
No, it really doesn't. And Mayfield gets hung with a loss, which is what it is. But 1 inning, 1 run, 1 hit, 1 walk. for Cash, 25 pitches, and Salas going 1-for-1 with a walk. I mean, solid performances out of your high single A and double A representatives in this game, something you would expect Cruz Schoolcraft potentially to be a part of next year. Maybe Ethan Salas again, depending upon what his status is. Cash Mayfield most likely going to be back again next year. So solid performance. Nice to see these guys playing well and being able to put on a decent performance in a major league ballpark.
Yeah, so overall pretty good. We have a contestant for the midday sports
we do
standoff?
not anymore.
Oh, we had him.
Yeah,
and then he's like, I don't want to do this anymore. All right, well, we'll keep moving on. Jeff Sanders had this with a minor league update. There are a couple of teams that were obviously playing in the minor leagues over the weekend. I think all teams were in action over the weekend. AAA El Paso, Chihuahuas lost 8-0. Sean Boyle went 6 innings, 4 earned runs. He falls to 7-6 on the year with a 5.76 ERA. Alec Jacob allowed 4 runs in 1 inning. Offensively, they only had 2 hits in the game. Freddie Fermin single on his 3rd rehab appearance, so that's good news. Carlos Rodriguez got a single, but offense got shut down yesterday in El Paso. Never really threatened offensively. In High A Fort Wayne, USD product, Justin DeCrisio, who spent his first couple of years at USD, he's been pretty good so far in the Padres organization. He was a draft pick just a year ago. Tin Caps won 9-1, but DeCrisio, huge day, 3 hits, 5 RBIs, hit his 8th home run this season, his 8th double, continue to show a lot of offensive upside. He was already a guy that was electric defensively. I mean, he has a sick glove, but the fact that he is putting in some good offense right now is a big help for the Padres organization, I would imagine. Oswaldo Linares, he had 3 hits, 4 RBIs. He had his 2nd home run. Big offensive breakthrough. Cannon Kemp had a scoreless inning, allowed 2 hits. But, overall, the weekend for the minor leaguers, Ethan Salas looks healthy again. I got to see him showcase himself for the Futures game. Cash Mayfield's had a strong, they've already had their split seasons, if you will, but he had a strong beginning part to his year. He's already in the second half of his season. One Futures game inning is not going to do anything. Plus, when he was out there pitching, it was kind of tough because he had a sunball that dropped in for a hit. So that's obviously doesn't help you out too much either. But Padres still have some really good talent in the farm system. It's just not ranked very high. And we're going to talk about the draft in just a little bit. But overall, I mean, the Futures game, Frank, is more of about, hey, look, we have some prospects out there more than just like the results you see with some of these guys.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the Futures game definitely put a spotlight on the guys that you were expecting to put a spotlight on. And for Salas, nice to see Salas and Mayfield both kind of live up to that spotlight.
Do we have a contestant?
We do.
All right, let's get to it.
Welcome to Midday Sports Standoff on the Braden Surprenant Show.
I can't believe what I'm seeing right now.
The ultimate head-to-head battle where sports knowledge and quick thinking collide.
No, it's no good. Are you kidding me?
Contestants will go toe-to-toe with Braden in a sports trivia deal where every correct answer brings them closer to victory.
Down the sideline! Wow! Unbelievable!
But 3 strikes and it's game over.
This is not Detroit, man. This is the Super Bowl.
Can you outsmart Braden? The Midday Sports Standoff starts now.
All right, Frank, who we got playing today?
We have our buddy Dexter in Spring Valley
What's
playing
up, Dexter?
today. Dexter, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going, fellas?
Good. All right, so today, again, Home Run Derby coming up later tonight. Over the last 10 years, since 2016, there have been 9 Home Run Derbies with 8 different winners. Who are the 8 different winners of the Home Run Derby since 2016? Dexter, you go first.
All right. The Polar Bear, Pete Alonso.
Pete Alonso has won 2. He won in 2019 and 2021. There's your only double.
That was the double. Well, I worked the 2016 All-Star Game, and I saw Giancarlo Stanton completely terrorize Petco Park.
Yeah.
Giancarlo Stanton, yes. Michael, for those that really don't like it.
Yeah, that was my next guess. Shoot, what was the guy? I'm just going to take a shot in the dark because I think I saw it on Netflix. I know Netflix has been running the old home run derbies to warm up to tonight. I'm going to take a stab and say Pujols.
Not in the last 10, no.
Okay.
Let's go with. I just saw this pop up on the scroll because he's looking to be the first ever player to win the Derby twice when his team was hosting. And that would be Bryce Harper, who won it for the Nationals at Nationals Park in 2018.
Correct. Dexter.
Wow. Okay. Trying to run it through my head, what cities they've played in. I'll take a stab. Freddie Freeman.
Nope. Sorry, that's strike 2, Dexter.
Okay.
Obviously, there was none in 20.
Would not be feeling confident being around Dexter with a knife in a dark room right now with these errant stabs.
Yeah, that's
Braden?
true, especially with his name being Dexter out of all the things. Okay, let's go with he won. I think you know what? Didn't Juan Soto win it? I think Juan Soto.
2022. Dexter, final strike here.
Yeah, I know. I'm rattling through my brain trying to figure out like power hitters. Yeah, because I'm thinking I'm thinking pre 2000s. I'm just gonna take another stab and say Vlad Jr.
Vladdy did win in 2023.
Okay. All right, let's go with last year's winner. Big dumper. Cal Raleigh.
Yeah.
Yep, Cal Raleigh last year.
He doesn't even look like he could hit a home run this year at all.
Braden's clinched a tie. Braden's forced a tie here. So Dexter.
Oh boy. Gonna go with. Man.
The 2 left.
Yeah, they're 2, and they're probably super, super obvious.
Running up on time
I'm
here.
hoping he won like a long time ago. Maybe this is before the time set for this game. Trout. Yeah.
No, Dexter, I am sorry. That is strike 3. Braden, you want to take a crack at the other 2?
Aaron Judge won it in 17.
Arson Fudge, yes.
We stopped doing it. And then a surprising one in 2024 was Teoscar Hernandez. He won it in 2020.
Teo got it. So your last 8 home run derby champions: Cal Raleigh, Teoscar Hernandez, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Juan Soto, Pete Alonso in back-to-back years, 2019 and 2021, Harper, Fudge, and then Michael Stanton.
I think it was Giancarlo here in 2016.
Probably.
Good. That was a good one. It was fun. Home run derby tonight, 5 o'clock.
It's the most entertainment we're going to get out of the home run derby today.
We'll talk about the home run derby later in the 1 o'clock hour. But coming up next, AJ Preller met with the media over the weekend. A lot of things. One o'clock on the Braden Surprenant show on a Monday. Getting ready for the Home Run Derby tonight. Good trivia question for Frank Marchese in the last segment. Thanks to Dexter for playing today's contest. Last 8 Home Run Derby winners over the last 10 years. One player won twice, and obviously there wasn't one in 2020. We'll talk more about the Home Run Derby later on in this hour as we'll lead you into Gwen and Chris on a Monday. Fast show today. It's really been moving on the show. We got lots to talk about still that we're probably going to have to punt for tomorrow, which is okay with us. Definitely okay for Frank. Frank loves that. Frank loves when we do that.
I do. I'm a little upset by one of the things that we're punting on today, but hey, that's what it is.
Let's get to what happened over the weekend. So there was a couple of things that happened over the weekend. Obviously, it's the ceremonial first half of the season coming to a close. And with that, a lot of questions to be asked of the Padres front office. And the benefit, I think, of having the MLB draft the same week as the All-Star break is the fact that you're going to have some media availability for the person that drafted 20 players over the weekend. Now, a lot of the questions are not about the draft per se, and we could talk about the Padres draft later today, maybe the next segment. We could also talk about the draft maybe tomorrow on the show. But AJ Preller had time to meet with the media this weekend, and a lot of the clips we're going to play for you are going to be more about the first half of the season, less about the draft. More about the trade deadline, less about the draft. Here's one of the big things that they asked AJ Preller about: the evaluation of the Padres' first half. A perfect 48-48, perfectly 500. Here's what AJ Preller had to say.
It's been. I think we're getting to the deadline right about 500, and it feels like it's been that type of half. Where there's been some good, there's been some things that we've got to improve on. We're in position where we could potentially get to October, but we're going to have to get better and we're going to have to improve. And I think, a lot of conversations over the last few days and weeks with our group and our staff and our players are the first ones to talk about, we've got to adjust some things. We've got to play better here in the second half. And, we've been in this spot a couple of times here in the last few years. And then we've been able to play really well in August and September. And I think from our side, each year is different. So I think, it's kind of like, we get through tomorrow, the folks will be on the draft through tomorrow. And then, all the attention turns to our big league team and more so the trade deadline. And, we'll be evaluating every day with a group that we hope and we think should play well here in the second half.
I mean, at this point, that's kind of the evaluation you would give, right? I mean, it's just I think 48-48 is exactly what this team has been this year. The old saying, you are what your record is. I mean, they've been playing kind of 500 ball the entire season this year. It's no surprise they go into the first half of the year at 500. You've seen an 8-game winning streak. You've seen an 8-game losing streak. That balanced itself out. You've seen them take 2 out of 3 in series they probably should, and you've seen them lose 2 out of 3 in series they probably should. I mean, that's what kind of like baseball is, and what you are going to experience for most of the season is 500 ball, and you got to hope that you get a nice winning streak and a good hot stretch in between, or at some point during the season. We talked about that at the beginning of the year, that 8-game winning streak was going to help this Padres team, assuming you didn't have an 8-game losing streak, or you didn't have a long losing streak that kind of negates the 8-game winning streak. They did have that losing streak. They're at 500, but as we've talked about going into the second half, 86 wins is probably what needs to happen for them to make the postseason. That means they got to go 38-28 in the remaining 66 games. You got to find a way to win 38 games here down the stretch. And I think it's very doable. I really do. And I think AJ Preller is going to be in the hunt to try to make this team get to a point where they can accomplish that. And we're 16 games away from the trade deadline. Not 16 days, 16 games away from the trade deadline. But I think that was a pretty honest answer out of AJ Preller, Frank, about the first half. I mean, they kind of had a mediocre first half of the season.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect way to surmise it. They've been an average team, and what do you know? They come in with a perfectly average record.
Obviously, a lot of that has the fact that the big name hitters are underperforming in the first half, and obviously going into the season, that was a big focal point of the Stars have to star. The Stars haven't really been starring as of late. They've gotten a lot better, but what's AJ Preller think about the first half that some of the big name guys have had?
Yeah, I think in the glass half full kind of perspective, yeah, we're sitting at about 500, and we haven't gotten the best performances from our top players. So that's I think there's a part of the group that we look at that and go, okay, these are good players. They have physical ability and a want to go out and perform, and but we've got to get to that spot where those guys are performing at the level there that we're accustomed to seeing from those guys. And those guys care a ton. There's been a lot of conversation over the last week about, okay, how can we, some adjustments we can make? How can we do things a little differently? What are some things we want to stick with? Because as you mentioned, you see guys like Manny and Toddy, they're starting to swing it better here over the last month. But the biggest thing is everybody's like honest and realistic. Like if we're going to get where we need to get to, it's, we're going to see that group, do what we're accustomed to seeing here in the second half of the season. And, I think we're anxious to get it started here next week.
I think they are too. I mean, I'm kind of anxious to see they played a lot better over the weekend. Was it perfect? No. The starting pitching great? No. I mean, but the offense is starting to get to a better point. And now it's like you got to go 38-28 in these next 66. And they have a lot more favorable schedule in the second half of the season compared to what they had to go through as of late. And being 3.5 games back, Frank, that's very doable for any team in Major League Baseball with 66 games to go.
Oh, it absolutely is. I mean, the only quote unquote kind of concern that you would have is tiebreakers, but you're still far enough out to where those tiebreakers can be not only beaten, but pretty fair-handedly squashed.
You don't want to run into a situation where you're, tied right there with Chicago or tied right there with Philly or St. Louis. St. Louis has now played their way out of a wild card spot, and that's including the fact that the Marlins got swept over the weekend and have kind of cooled off a little bit. But you look at the standings, like Philly is 2 games back from Atlanta. You almost want Philly to win that division if you're the Padres. Aside from the fact that if you do not get if you don't get the top wild card spot, you're probably going to have to play Philly in the first round of the playoffs, maybe, unless they get the 2 seed, which is possible, but I don't see it happening. I mean, I just think it's going to be the Dodgers and the Brewers for the 1 and 2 seed. Philly's going to get, or the NL East is going to get the 3 spot, and you're hoping that you don't have to go to Philadelphia. I'm not really afraid of Milwaukee on the road. I'm just not with the way that Milwaukee has choked in the playoffs the last handful of years. But if you're a Padres fan, you're rooting for Philly in the second half. So you have a tiebreaker maybe with Atlanta.
Yeah,
so if you get to a position of, you're battling for a playoff spot with Atlanta and Miami, with games obtainable against Miami, it's a lot better than battling with Chicago, Philly, and St. Louis. I mean, that's kind of where you're at right now in terms of tiebreakers. You got to play Pittsburgh one more time. You could win that tiebreaker. You could still win a tiebreaker with Arizona. You could still win one with Miami. One more win against Atlanta, and you'll win the season tiebreaker against them. That all of a sudden is changing your odds a little bit more in terms of a playoff race. If Philadelphia passes the Atlanta Braves, I think you are rooting for Philly to win the NL East.
Yeah, that's more or less your best option because, again, you're not only did you lose the tiebreaker, you lost in every facet against the Philadelphia Phillies. So you're hoping for Atlanta to kind of suffer its normal injury woes and then have Philadelphia take over that division, which isn't far off from happening either.
I want to talk about this trade stuff next. I do want to, let's continue with kind of the first half evaluation things from AJ Preller. So he talked about the team as a whole. He talked about the stars maybe not performing. What about the coaching staff? I mean, what has his evaluation been about the job Craig Stammen has done as manager of this team and how the staff has done in the first half of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the group again, like it's I think overall for Craig, he's done a lot of really good things in terms of his process, the way he goes about things with the staff. He'll be the first to tell you that from a win-loss standpoint, he would, he'd love to do better. I'll be the first to tell you that it's not a perfect roster he has, that, ultimately, we've had a lot of injuries like a lot of teams do, but, if you look up and, no Pivetta, no Darvish, no Musgrove, some bullpen injuries, some position player injuries, no Laureano. And the biggest thing with Craig and why he's, good at what he does, why he was a good player, why he's continues to he's gonna continue to grow as a manager. He's open to learning and growing, and he'll talk and be like, yeah, there are some things that I can do better. And I think for us as a staff, we try to do that as an organization. He's doing that from his standpoint. And, him and the group are working very hard, and they're looking to get this thing turned around. And I think he's the first that'll go into the second half saying, yeah, I'm going to make some adjustments here, some things that I can work on, that I can do better. And that's usually where this thing starts. So we hired him for a reason. We believe in what he brings to the table. He's been in this organization a long time. We're very familiar with him. And again, I'm expecting the team to play well in the second half with him leading the group.
I think this break comes at like a great. I mean, it would have been a perfect time if this break came 2 weeks ago, a week ago, because they at the end of like the middle to end of June, you could tell that they were starting to. The offense was starting to get better, but the pitching staff was starting to break down, and they needed a break big time. And I think this is the right time for the Padres to get this break. And I also think it's the right time. I mean, it works out that they only have one All-Star. I think the fact that only one player has to go to Philadelphia and participate in the All-Star game is huge for this baseball team that needs their players to get a little R&R during this week and have, they're going to have today off, they have tomorrow off, they have Wednesday off. Thursday, I would imagine, will be the day that they travel to Kansas City, whether it be as a team or meet out there. I don't necessarily remember off the top of my head what that potentially is. But I think it's great for the Padres to get some rest and relaxation right now. And I think that's including, Frank, the coaching staff at this point. And I think it's a great time for Craig Stammen to kind of go take a deep breath, learn from what happened in the first half, see what went well, see what's not going well. It gives him time to reset. Obviously a big family guy, Craig Stammen is, and be ready for a second half push. I mean, there could be some adjustments that he makes right here at the deadline going into the second half of the season. And I mean, I look back to 2024, that first game back from the All-Star break, they lost, and they were at 50-50 in their first 100 games. This is kind of the exact same spot the Padres were in 2024.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they looked like the best team and the most dominant team going into the playoffs at that time. So, and that's of these last three runs, it was the team that was most capable of winning a World Series. So coming in at 500, not great, but also not a death sentence either.
No, it's definitely obtainable. And as mentioned before, 86 wins we think is going to get you in the playoffs. They got to go 38-28 in their next 66. Interesting question, though, too, asked of AJ Preller. So you talked about Craig Stammen and the staff, but offense obviously has been a problem for the Padres. It's starting to get a lot better. AJ Preller was asked about the job he thinks Steven Souza Jr. has done as the hitting coach of the Padres.
Yeah, I think with Steven Souza and with the offensive group, I mean, it's again, like, there's been moments throughout the year. What we try not to do is like, hey, have that direct correlation to we go score 10 runs, man, that the hitting coach is doing a great job. We score 2 runs or 1 run or no runs. Hey, it's something on the coaching. I think what we've tried to do over the last few months, and definitely in the last few weeks, as we've gotten more, we've gotten just more information, more games, is it's kind of looking at our process and trying to look at, hey, is our review good? Is our pregame good? Is our prep good? Is it too much information? Is it enough information? And just listening to the staff and players so that we're in a better spot in the second half. And I think we tried not to overreact to the fact that we haven't swung the bats the way we want to and make any rash judgments on what that means, because we've all been there where, I think, we see teams that one year play in the World Series or in the playoffs and their offense is at the top of the scale, and the next year not so much, and the same coaching staff and, similar players. So, again, we like our group, we like our coaches, we think they do a very good job. I can tell you from talking to those guys and working with them, the care factor is huge, the knowledge and intent is big. And again, from my side, we've got to turn it up here in the second half. And I'm very honest with myself on the job that I've done, and ultimately we've got to come out of this break and play a little better here in the second half.
Honestly, Frank, I mean, that's the best answer you want to get out of a general manager or president of baseball operations. They can't be thinking emotionally like we do as fans, right? Mm-hmm. It's not about the hitting coach. If they score 10 runs, the hitting coach is so great. If they score 2 runs, the hitting coach stinks. It's a tough gig in Major League Baseball to be a hitting coach because of the fact that when your offense doesn't do well, you're responsible. And if they do well, you get no credit. I mean, that's just how coaching works a lot of times. And you will see offenses that do extremely well, as AJ Preller mentioned. They will do extremely well one season and then not do very well the next. And they'll have the exact same coaching staff. Sometimes it's luck. Sometimes it's bad luck. Sometimes it's on the players. But it's not always the results don't always correlate to whether or not the hitting coach is good.
No, it's sometimes, again, it's the hitting coach may be giving you the ideas, but it's actually the player that has to go out there and implement it. So it's not always it's not always on the hitting coach, but again, can't fire the players. So Steven Souza Jr. has done I think a fine enough job so far this season. Could it be better? Sure. But that also relies on the players not having their career worst years all at the same time too.
I think so. And the other thing too that was interesting that AJ Preller mentioned was the fact that, they evaluate, are we giving them too much information? Are we giving them not enough information? What is our process like? What are our meetings like? What players need this kind of info, what players don't need info at all. I mean, these are all things that you are going to learn over the course of the year that you can kind of reevaluate at the All-Star break and make an adjustment for the second half of the season. Speaking of the second half of the season, we're 16 games away from the trade deadline. This is a Padres team that could look drastically different because this is a Padres organization that likes to take big moves. What did AJ Preller say about the trade deadline? How much financial flexibility do the Padres have? And is he prepared to take trade calls or even trade Mason Miller? We'll find out those answers next on the Braden Surprenant Show. San Diego's #1 sports station, 97 through the Fan. Baseball coverage on 97.3 The Fan is presented by Xfinity. Score the most reliable Wi-Fi, one price, 5 years guaranteed. Xfinity, imagine that. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show, Statica's number one sports station, 97.3 The Fan. We were talking about some of the first half review of the ceremonial first half of the Padres baseball season. AJ Preller, after the draft, first day of draft coverage, the first round of the draft on Saturday, met with the media to talk about the draft and also some other questions about the first half of the season. He answered a lot of those last segment. This segment, talking more about the trade deadline. AJ Preller, obviously, is a guy that likes to move a lot of pieces at the deadline. This is a deadline that's definitely a seller's market more than a buyer's market. Not going to be a lot available, I don't think. Padres have some holes that they have to deal with. Are they going to be in the conversation? Are they not going to be in the conversation? But the biggest question, of course, before you even make any of these plans, how much financial flexibility does AJ Preller and the Padres have, not only when it comes to finances, but prospect capital? Here's what AJ Preller had to say about what he has to use at the deadline.
Yeah, I mean, I think, those will be conversations over the course of the next few weeks. And I think, you also have to see how the team plays, how we come out of the break, and also what's out there, from deals that make sense. So we're going to go into the process open-minded to see what's there and see what can help our club. We're going to go in open-minded about, whether it's acquiring players or kind of looking at if we have to go another direction. So I think all those things are on the table. I think there'll be conversation in the next few weeks with the ownership group about, appetite to add to this group. And, again, I think we're going to be in a position to know a lot more here in a couple of weeks. I've seen some different things about the trade market. It really is like almost every team is like pretty much locked in until the draft is over. I think part of that's like there's a heavy focus on the draft. Part of it is just there's a lot of teams in contention, and I think you start to separate a little bit more at this time in the next 10 days, 2 weeks, and we'll get some more answers about what that means from a budget standpoint and go from there with it.
Obviously, there's still a lot to be played out. Still a lot to talk about when it comes to the trade deadline, and I think he's right. I mean, he's got to get some information on what he can and cannot do in terms of finances, but it's kind of hard to start planning a lot of this stuff without knowing who is going to trade, who's going to buy, and who's going to sell. And that I don't necessarily know. That might come down to the last possible second, Frank, based on the way teams are playing right now.
Yeah, a lot of the teams are still close, and a lot of the teams in the American League, even though they may be bad, are still right there as far as the wild card is concerned. So you might see some teams with under 500 records out of the American League really selling. So that's something you're going to have to watch out for, and teams will take that to the last possible second if they think they have a chance.
Mason Miller, obviously, is a big talking point for a lot of teams, okay? Because they know that the Padres have not played very well. Mason Miller is obviously a highly coveted asset. I think a lot of narratives want to push him potentially getting traded at the deadline. Bob Nightingale talked about how rival executives are curious to see what the Mason Miller situation is, and that they think the Padres, if they do decide to trade Mason Miller, will not get what they got back that they dealt to Los Oclamento for him in the first place, which I find to be interesting. But I think that kind of all falls on deaf ears because AJ Preller doesn't really sound like he's going to trade Mason Miller. Here's what he had to say about Mason Miller in particular leading into the trade deadline.
Yeah, I think it's like for right now, Marty, it's like, let's get ready for day 2 of the draft tomorrow, and let's go win a couple more games and hopefully put our team in a better spot. Obviously, Mason's the best in the game, so you're always going to have people that are they're going to be interested in somebody that's the best at their craft and what they do. When we made the deal last year, he's performed as good as you can want somebody to perform, and we made the deal with the intention that Mason's going to be here for a long time, and he's done an unbelievable job. And our intent is still the same as when we made the deal last year.
I think that's an easy cop-out answer for AJ Preller. Hey, you know what? We're focused on this right now, not that. I would imagine he's probably going to listen to phone calls about it, but it doesn't really sound like he's really interested in trading Mason Miller. And I also think, I mean, with him saying with what they invested in Mason Miller, it's going to be very difficult for them to just pivot and be like, you know what? We gave up our best prospect for this guy, and we're going to flip him at the next deadline and only have him for one calendar year. That would be organizational malpractice, and I think they know that.
Yeah, I can't see unless you're getting a guy like a Walker Jenkins back, a guy who's major league ready, just doesn't really have a spot on the roster. If you get a guy like him back, then maybe you kind of listen to it because it's a number one prospect. It's top 10 in baseball. It's a position you need. It's a guy who's ready now, and you also have full control on him. That's kind of the only guy you'd kind of listen to, somebody who kind of fits that archetype. But other than that, yeah, I see no need to trade Mason Miller at all.
Neither do I. I don't think it really brings you anything that you think it's going to bring you. I mean, if you're not going to get a Leo DeVries back, it doesn't make any sense to trade Mason Miller. Or if you're not going to get a high-level starting pitcher who is just as good or is going to be as good as Mizorowski or Paul Skeens or any of the young up-and-coming pitchers that throw over 100 miles an hour, it doesn't make any sense to make that trade, right? So I wanted to play that. I mean, I know a lot of people that's been a big discussion point for Padres fans because, I mean, being at 500 right now is probably not where I think a lot of Padres fans wanted to be at this point in the season. It's not much worse than what you probably expect this team to be at, considering the circumstances of the beginning of the year, considering the circumstances of the injuries that this team has, on top of the fact that the starting rotation was already going to be kind of pieced together and hoping for the best. The Padres are not in a terrible spot. They're not in a great spot either. But at the same time, like when we have these discussions at this point in the season and trades and everything like that, I just feel like a lot of this conversation came from emotionally being upset that the Padres went on an 8-game losing streak and just being upset. You got to blow this thing up. We can't do this anymore. This is not a World Series team. And you know what? I mean, as constructed, it's not really a World Series team, but I think it's a lot of treating this season like an NFL season. It's going to make you start saying some outlandish things. I mean, here's the other thing too. If you decide to sell at the deadline, even though because it's a seller's market and you don't think there's that one player that's going to put this team over the top, which I don't think there is either. I still think it's better to make the playoffs than to not make the playoffs at all. Mm-hmm. But on top of that, who's on your team next year? I mean, you're running out of names that are going to be on your team next year that you already have to replace. And the ones that a lot of fans want to be replaced are players that you can't replace.
I think that's why you would trade a guy like Adrian Morejon. Now, I understand that does make the back end of the bullpen weaker, and it does kind of hurt you if you do go into a playoff, but he is the guy right now that you can get for prospect capital, prospect leverage. You can bring multiple young guys in, maybe one who is like right on the fringe of being able to make it and use him for the rest of the season. And you have that guy. So as much as I wouldn't want to, and I understand not wanting to, I think trading a guy like Adrian Morejon could be the way to do that, especially if you're not really intending on re-signing him next year.
Yeah, the re-signing or not re-signing of Adrian Morejon is very interesting to me because I think a lot of people were like, well, why wouldn't you re-sign him? I think he's going to get closer type money. Could the Padres afford to pay for that? I mean, I guess if you're not paying Mason Miller closer money, I guess you could pay Adrian Morejon closer money. Is that money well spent, though? Because every time you decide to spend the money for, go a little bit over, the question becomes how many extra players can you bring back or where you can invest that money elsewhere to help improve the roster. To me, I think the Padres need to improve the starting pitching and they need to improve the lineup a little bit more so than the bullpen, who now the Padres have shown can develop. I mean, they have been able to develop bullpen arms left and right in their minor league system. I think it's a lot easier to find bullpen arms. I think it's a lot easier to develop bullpen arms than it is starters. So that's obviously a question for the offseason of whether or not you're going to re-sign him. But if there's a deal available, it's something to look at. But at the same time, if you're going to try to buy, it's going to be tough to flip somebody as good as Morejon for something else and still be competitive, I think, down the stretch. But it is definitely something to monitor.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Who are we sending to see Alice Cooper on November 17th?
Yes. When we come back, as we go to break, we are giving away tickets to Alice Cooper at Cal Coast Credit Union on November 17th. You can get tickets at Ticketmaster.com. If you are the fifth caller, you will win a pair of tickets to see Alice Cooper at Cal Coast Credit Union on November 17th. Tickets at Ticketmaster.com. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. Fifth caller, you will win tickets to Alice Cooper at Cal Coast Credit Union. We will announce the winner when we come back, and we'll talk about the Home Run Derby and what to expect from the Home Run Derby tonight. A couple of rule changes that Frank will tell us about when we return. All of our guests join us on the SDCCU fan hotline. It's not Big Bank Banking. It's better. Show flew by today. Final segment of the Braden Surprenant Show. Standing Number Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. Not a lot going on in the sports world aside from today with the Home Run Derby. Tomorrow, we have to wait for the World Cup until tomorrow. Got the All-Star game tomorrow, but this is the slow week, usually in sports. I have to say this. I mean, the morning show talked about this before we dive into the Home Run Derby. You know, Shohei Ohtani has announced that he's not going to be there. He's not there this week for the whatever it's called, the All-Star game. Mizorowski turned it down. They had the situation with Zach Wheeler?
Yeah, that was on the sport here. I'll read what we had on the sports thread here. Phillies ace Zach Wheeler declined a late invitation to the All-Star game despite saying he felt disrespected for being passed over multiple times despite another dominant first half. Wheeler owns a 2.14 ERA after returning from major surgery, believed he had earned his spot much earlier and didn't want to be viewed as a last-minute replacement. His decision reignited the debate over how MLB selects All-Stars and whether deserving players are being overlooked. Did Wheeler make the right move by declining the invitation, or should players accept the honor regardless?
I mean, at this point, like, I agree with Ben Higgins. He said on the morning show, he goes, we'll just ask Zach Wheeler who he should have replaced if he feels so disrespected about it. I think that's fair. Like, Woods disagreed, but I do think it's fair. I mean, if you're going to sit there and complain that you were the fifth option, like, okay, I see both sides of this. Obviously, you know, why would you want to accept it after they, quote, disrespected you? But who's on that list that's shouldn't be on that list before they got to you? I think it's a fair ask. You feel so disrespected about it. I mean, obviously they got a lot of moving parts. They got to have guys representing every team out there. That plays a factor. Also, the fact that Zach Wheeler missed like the beginning part of the season. Did he not? Did he miss it like the first month?
You can't use that. I'm sorry. You cannot use that argument, especially when a guy like Jacob Mizorowski started the All-Star game last year.
I mean, I can
only
because
5
I
games.
didn't allow I didn't say Mizorowski should start.
I'm just saying,
But
like
what
that's an argument that baseball people can't use. Is he missed time? Mizorowski missed the first 2 months of the season last year, and yet he started. That's not an argument.
Well, I think it is an argument for baseball, but they could do whatever they want. He had a really good year, but like, who is disrespecting him to the point where now all of a sudden he doesn't want to play? I mean, you and I both agreed that Mizorowski didn't deserve it last year at all. He throws 100-something miles an hour, so let's throw him out there. He's not playing. Shohei Ohtani's not playing. There's a couple other guys not playing. Is this an event that's slowly dying? I think it is.
Yes.
I mean, at this point,
All-Star games are pointless.
They used to have they're pointless because it's come to a point where these athletes, I mean, sports are at this such high level now that they get paid to that level. And it's just, it's not like a showcase of being able to see me play. I'm not playing with it's not like the pride of like playing with some of the best in the world does not outweigh taking 4 days off to a lot of these guys, which is fair. And also, you're not playing for anything. Whether or not you believe that the All-Star game deciding home field advantage in the World Series was right nor wrong, it at least gave guys incentive to go play in this thing. And you got some really good games out of it. It was the best All-Star game out of the bunch. And now that it doesn't really mean anything, I mean, if I'm a player, it's like, yeah, it'd be cool to be in the All-Star game. But if you've been there a couple of times, wouldn't you rather have 4 days off, 3 or 4 days off, than go continue to play from that perspective? I mean, there's a lot of people out there that love this, right? I mean, if I was a Major League Baseball player, which I'm not, and I was blessed enough to make the All-Star game, I couldn't wait to get out there. but that's not for everybody. I don't see how they continue to do this moving forward, and without it turning into the NBA All-Star game. I think the home run derby is pretty similar to that, and we're going to get to that in just a second. Do want to get to your phone calls, though. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Let's get out to Martin and Santee. Martin, what's going on?
Gentlemen, first off, kudos to you, Frank, for your cup dates. Also to having Drake May on Fridays to cover everything, along with Frank, of course. But the soccer stuff has been phenomenal, and I appreciate you adding that to the genre of what you covered. But really today, what I wanted to just mention is Braden, you've been talking about it for a long time. Our fan base, including me, have higher expectations because of where we've been and success we've had over the last couple of years, which is great, and that's where we should be. You know, I mean, Frank, you as a Mets fan, I mean, you're still a fan. And as bad as they're playing, you're still a fan. But also, Braden, you've provided a perspective, you know, and you just think about it. It's like, you know, what if we had Pavetta? Okay. You know, just a couple more wins, 5-6 wins more than we've had now. We'd be 12 games over 500. So, but just wanted to say, keep it positive. You got to have a good fan base. And again, Frank, you're the perfect example of what it takes to be a true fan. You've lived through the Mets' ups and downs. And we as Padres fans, yes, our expectations are greater. So, Braden, appreciate what you bring in that. And also, too, just the diversity, too, adding, you know, over the line. I've only been to the tournament one time in my younger days when it was much wilder, just going to say. But good show. You know, keep it real, San Diego, literally. Yes, our expectations are higher. Yes, it could have been better with Pavetta, with Musgrove, but keep it in perspective. And Braden, you've kept us there. And Frank, keep going. You know, I'm not a Mets fan. I'm not a Soto fan, but I'm a fan of yours and along with you, Braden. So anyway, good stuff as always. Appreciate what you bring each day, the diversity and taking our calls. So thank you guys. So
well,
have a good day.
That.
Have a great week. And we'll get after this. Don't worry. We'll get after this. Go Pods.
Go Pods. We appreciate it, Martin. I like what Juan Ruiz said in the chat, Frank. Be proud of your pain, Frank.
Oh, there's been so much pain.
So much pain. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. Let's talk about the home run derby tonight. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be tuned into it. I mean, it used to be like must
I will
watch.
not be watching. Period.
The fact that it's on Netflix makes me not want to like. I don't have Netflix anymore. I had it when it was affordable. It's not. I mean, it got to a point for me where I don't have enough to make that. There's not enough on there that I like to watch that justifies me paying for it. So I'm not going to do that for the home run derby probably. But you know what? Hopefully I can see the highlights. It'll be cool. I mean, I miss the days when like Boomer was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Back. It was fun and whatever. I mean, we'll see how it goes tonight. Kyle Schwarber, Jordan Walker, Bryce Harper are the three representatives from the National League. Obviously, Schwarber and Bryce Harper being both playing for the Phillies. Ben Rice, Junior Caminero, Murakami is going to be in it. Wilson Contreras, Caglione. I mean, these are the home run derby participants tonight, and some new rule changes this year in the home run derby. It's based on swings now.
Yeah, so instead of the 10 outs or the time limit, now you have swings. 20 swings in the first round. You get 15 in the second round and in the finals. Tiebreakers will be home run distance in the first round, and then it'll be a 3-swing swing off in the second round in the finals to determine the tiebreaker. Your turn only ends after you have completed your 20 swings and not hit a home run. So if you hit a home run on your 20th swing, you keep going until you don't hit a home run.
So round 1 is 20 swings with a distance tiebreaker. Round 2 is 15 swings, 3 swing off. Finals is 15 swings, 3 swing off. Attempt ends after first missed home run after the last swing. We'll see how this plays. I mean, The time wasn't too bad, but I just felt like they were moving so fast that they weren't getting the moonshot home runs like they used to have.
Mhm.
The old way of 10 outs was interesting, but they would take forever because they would just keep taking pitch after pitch after pitch after pitch. Maybe this is somewhere in between with the swings.
Could be, yeah.
Because now it's I don't know though, but like the outs are one thing. I guess you would like start losing swings, right?
Yeah.
By doing it this way, so it might be a little bit faster than the outs perspective,
Mhm.
but
And those home runs would count as swings, so you could take pitches all you want, but your home runs also count for swings too. They don't in outs, they wouldn't have counted naturally.
so maybe this is a mix between the both. Are they doing tournament style again? Or are they taking like the top 4?
I honestly don't know. I think so. That's kind of the way it looks like it's set. So I mean, for me, it just goes to show how far this tournament has fallen. You have Jack Caglione who's hit 14 home runs this season in this thing.
Yeah.
Why? It's better than the All-Star skills. It's better than the NBA skills competition where they just take players who aren't All-Stars to do this stuff.
Yeah, I think you have to be an all-star to do this stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, 14 home runs. You couldn't find one other guy on the National League side to make it 4-4.
That wanted to do
this.
it.
Like you couldn't find one more guy.
I know. It's supposed to be like a showcase of like some of your best players and these certain things. I mean, I don't necessarily know if you could do a skills competition for baseball. It'd be interesting to see. I think guys
They've done it before.
I know, but I don't think there's going to be enough players that want to participate in it. I mean, the whole thing was supposed to be a showcase for everybody to see at one setting all these great players. I don't know how you can do all-star games in this day and age of sports.
I don't either.
I mean, I think they've gotten creative, like the NHL doing the I like the 3-on-3 tournament. I think that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
The NBA has just been awful for years. The NFL, the Pro Bowl is a joke.
Have them do the celebrity softball tournament.
They should just all play.
Yeah, exactly. Just have them play softball.
I'd rather
Exactly.
watch them play softball. I think it'd be hilarious. Talk about screwing up somebody's swing for the second half. For Frank Marchese, I'm Braden Surprenant. Gwen and Chris coming up next. Hope you guys enjoy the Derby tonight. We'll talk about it tomorrow.